I call the City of Charlottesville School Board meeting to order. Can we stand for a pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Blair, will you come up and give us information on Cynthia Carter, please?
Ms. Carter began working for us in 2001 at the Substitute Instructional District. During her many years of dedicated service, she served our school division well, and most recently as an instructional assistant in the special education class at Johnson Elementary. She also served as a group leader in the class after-school program. She recently received her associate degree from the University of Phoenix in 2016, showing real love for lifelong learning. We remember Ms. Carter for her easy smile, her love for and commitment to Johnson Elementary School, and her unwavering support of and the care of her most favorite boy in the whole world, the kindergarten student with whom he worked on a daily basis. She was loved by all.
May we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really hard when we lose a dedicated employee like Cynthia, and because the employees are the heart of who we are and what we are in this division. So we'll miss Cynthia dearly. Thank you, Dr. Blair. The next item on the agenda is a roll call. Madam Clerk, do we have roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have the roll.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is to approval of the proposed agenda.
I move so moved we approve the agenda.
Okay, thank you. May I get a second, please?
Second.
Any additions or changes to the agenda? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no.
Oh, I can say yes.
Okay. I didn't hear anything from this side. You guys okay? Okay. Okay. Okay, I just want to be sure. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda is comments from members of the public, and we have people that have signed up, but you still can speak if you didn't. The first person is Graham Scharf, I'm sorry. If you could state your name and address, please. Okay, well, can you wait a second? We just want to make sure we get the speaking. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yep. Thanks for allowing public comment. I am here. I was hoping to speak after another parent who is planning to come, but she's not able to be here. My friend is the parent of a child at Walker Elementary School. She came in to volunteer at lunchtime at Walker. While she was there, a fight broke out, and she saw a school safety officer need to physically remove that student from the lunchroom. While the police officer took that student, another fight broke out, which she then interrupted and separated the students, being covered with blood of the students because of the fighting. She was told by the administration that this was a rare occurrence. She knows it not to be so. Do you know how many chairs have been thrown through windows at Walker this year? Anyone? No. It's at least 3. These are elementary school students. And parents like myself don't know because there's no notification system. So I'm standing here today to ask for a notification system for parents when there's disruptive behavior that impedes learning. Because if parents like me knew the kinds of things that were going on, then we'd show up here to be present and to be involved constructively. I looked on the website for the record of disruptive behavior at Walker last year. There were 13 recorded instances. I know from knowing faculty at the school that there's a lot more disruptive behavior than that. I also know that because I've had a daughter go through. One of my friends who's a teacher there was assaulted by a student last year. That student returned to the classroom without any reparation or reconciliation, just brought back into the classroom. To me, as a teacher and as former teacher, parent, and friend, is unacceptable. So in addition to asking for you to notify parents when there is disruptive behavior and a child needs to be removed, and then to document what is being done to repair the harm, how the student is taking responsibility for his or her actions and being restored to the community, this is different from permitting it to happen. It's also different from punishing and just excluding and saying we're going to suspend the student because they did something terrible. It's asking them to repair the harm. It's called restorative justice. You have a principal coming into Walker next year who is committed to restorative justice. I'm asking you, in addition to telling us when those things happen so that we as parents can be involved, to give him budget and license to implement restorative justice in the schools so that the needs of students are addressed in effective ways, so that our students learn that this sort of behavior is not permissible, nor is it merely punished, but they are responsible for their actions, and the adults in the building help them to take responsibility for their actions. If you do this, if you do the first, you'll have more parents like me showing up concerned because they don't want their kids' learning environment disrupted, and I think that's a good thing. If you do the second, the kids who are the repeat perpetrators will get the help that they need to take responsibility for their actions, rather than having it ignored and they go back into the classroom, or just being punished and being sent out of the classroom.
Okay, if you could, just 3 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll wrap up with this.
Thank you.
I'll wrap up with a short anecdote. My third grade daughter came home in November and said, today one of my classmates was throwing chairs and pulling things off the wall. I said, that's unacceptable. She said, this happens almost on a daily basis. So I talked to the teacher, I talked to the administrators, and it is true that it happens on an almost daily basis with that student. On one occasion, all the third graders had to be evacuated to the hallway while this kid destroyed the classroom. What I'm asking for is at the elementary level that we have the appropriate interventions so that children like mine can learn, and those children who have needs that can't be addressed in a classroom can be addressed. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. The next person that we have signed to speak is Mr. John Gaines, a former teacher and administrator here in Charlottesville.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Bryant on being appointed to the school board.
Yeah.
I'm here this evening to make a request to the board, and Mr. Wade mentioned to me that there's a process for this. When the schools integrated around in the 1960s, I was assigned to Beaufort Junior High School. I was leaving an outstanding principal, Booker T. Reeves, who this media center is named in honor of, and you may want to consider naming the school in honor of him. But I'm really here to request that you consider the street from Melbourne Road to the office of Charlottesville High School, and the street from Cherry Avenue to Beaufort School. I think it would be most appropriate if you consider naming those strips in honor of John Jack Hegel. Mr. Hegel was the first principal at Beaufort. He opened that school back in the 60s. And he also opened the school here, Charlottesville High School. So that's the reason, the request that I would like to leave with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there others from the public that's not signed up who would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, I'm Brittany Allen. My address is 224 Burnett Street. I have 3 children that are in the Charlottesville City Schools. I have one daughter that goes to Walker that was been bullied since October, every day since October. She's gotten into 2 physical altercations, one where the incident was recorded. Can you just imagine seeing your child being attacked and beat up and having it recorded and plastered over the social media? Excuse me. It's very heartbreaking. It is. I've since removed my child from the city schools. She won't see her probably knocking at my door any day. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's an everyday occurrence. Like, she's a very strong child, and I don't know how she get through the day, but she ignores it. It's just very sad. Anytime I talk to administration, they say, our hands are tied, our hands are tied. I was a difficult child. I went to the alternative school, and alternative school helped me. Kathy Harris helped me. I was a very difficult child. I'm not asking for, I'm just like, something needs to happen. Like, they say it's zero tolerance for bullying, but nothing is happening. All avenues, I've done everything that I can. And she's a sweet child, and I should not have to remove her from free education and have to pay for her schooling. It's not fair, and it's not right. Secondly, Busy Bee at Clark, they are thinking about doing away with it. A lot of parents in that area that use that school, Busy Bee is all they have for after school. Like, some parents can't even afford to send their kids to class, the class program. If the staff is willing to continue to Busy Bee, we're just asking the schools, can we keep Busy Bee? That's it for our children. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, I know it's very difficult for you to share that with us, and we're sorry that we didn't live up to your expectations. I would ask that, and I know that Adam may not be officially on the clock, but Adam, if you get an opportunity today before you leave, if you could talk with the 2 parents, we really would appreciate it, because you're going to be the new principal at Walker next year, so I really would appreciate if you could do that, sir. And we'll look into the Busy Bee. Yeah. Thank you so much. Are there others that would like to speak from the public? Okay, if not, the next item on the agenda is student and staff recognition. First one is CSA Amnesty International donation to the Blue Ridge Food Bank. Dr. King.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Good evening.
school board members, and Dr. Atkins. It is my honor tonight to present Miss Millie Carson. She is a Charlottesville High School parent as well as a representative with Amnesty International, and she has a presentation to the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, and I would like to call her up to make the presentation. I don't know who Millie Carson is. This is Millie Winson. So please, I just said,
I know Millie Carson and she's lovely. So.
and this is, school board chair, I said, are you the owner of Albemarle Baking Company? Because I was getting ready to tell on myself. She
I wish.
Said, no. So
I wish,
hello,
but
this
Millie,
is
that is the Millie Carson. Yes.
Yeah.
And I wish often. So I wanted to call them up first because this is really about them. So did you all want to say anything?
You could just introduce them, and then
I will let them introduce themselves.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Charlie Payne,
what grade are you in?
and I am a junior here at CHS. Hi, I'm Emma Hale. I'm the president of our Amnesty Club, and I'm a senior here at CHS.
I'm Jonah Weissman, and I'm also a senior here.
So again, I am Millie Winstead with the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, and I am honored to be here, mostly because I'm honored to be with them and what they've done. They are here to present a check to the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, and I wanted to just share a little bit with you and with everybody the impact that they have made, the hard work that they've put in. The check and the food that they collected as well at the event that they organized will help provide 4,363 meals to hungry people in this community. That makes a difference. They make a difference. And I think it's just really important for you and for our community to know what they have done. I think they are a wonderful example of Amnesty International and what it stands for, the work that it does, and the approach that they take. It's a three-pronged approach. First, it's research. They obviously looked into this and saw that hunger is an issue within our community. Some people, it's hard to imagine, but it is. Then the second approach is mobilization, and they obviously did that very successfully by planning and organizing a wonderful event. Lastly is advocacy. Again, proven by what they did, by sharing the message that the food bank has and that there is hunger in our community and that we together can make a difference when we come together as a group to do that. I also think that this group right here is exemplary of CHS students. As I was introduced, I have a daughter that graduated 2 years ago. I have a son that is currently here as a junior. And I am so incredibly proud of students here and what they have done. And I'm also so hopeful. I think we've seen recently how incredibly organized and powerful this generation can be. They truly do bring hope. And so to you, the school board, I want to thank you for helping us honor them this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, pictures, okay.
Let's go in front of the podium.
Oh, okay.
So I think we have the teacher sponsor. Is she there? You want to come on? Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the words with us. And I think Mr. Wiseman, he was recently selected as a Jefferson Scholar at UVA. It's an incredible accomplishment out of thousands of students. Only a handful are chosen, and so good luck, sir. And thank you for the students for making a difference, researching and finding out the need in our community, and making a difference. So thank you so much. The next item we have on our agenda is Teacher Appreciation Week. Dr. King?
Yes, sir. And we know that May is a month of celebration. Later this month, we will be celebrating with our families to recognize Mother's Day and the upcoming commencement exercises. But tonight, I am here to honor and have you recognize our teachers as well as our nurses, as it is National Teacher Appreciation Week. It is the first full week of May. That has been dedicated to teachers for their hard work and their passion and compassion to work with our students, our families, as well as our community. There's no words that can really say all that our teachers do and how much we appreciate them, but I do believe that our governor, Ralph Northam, with the proclamation for teachers, if I may read it, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Does state it well. Whereas strong and effective public schools are essential to the economic prosperity of Virginia and ensure that we continue to make social, technological, and scientific advancements. And whereas qualified, dedicated teachers are critical to the success of our students and are fundamental to the strength of our Commonwealth. And whereas Virginia's teachers are entrusted with helping our students reach their full academic potential and exhibit an unwavering devotion to student success. And whereas teachers are essential to empowering families and communities to support our children and their potential to achieve. And whereas the Virginia Lottery, the source of nearly $8 billion for public schools since 1999, is partnering with the Virginia Tourism Corporation, and the Virginia Parent-Teacher Association for the third annual Thank a Teacher campaign to encourage Virginians to send thank you notes to teachers across the Commonwealth. And whereas Teacher Appreciation Week is an opportunity for Virginians to join with the teachers around the country on the critical role our teachers play in shaping our children and the future of the Commonwealth. Therefore, our Governor, Ralph S. Northam, declares or recognizes May 7th through May 11th, 2018 as Teacher Appreciation Week in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and he calls this observance to all citizens. At this time, Mr. Chair, I would invite any teacher in the audience to please stand so that we can give them actually a standing ovation. Yes. I think they definitely deserve that and so much more.
Yes, as I said before, the teachers are the backbone of makes the system tick. So it's good that we can just carve out a few minutes each year just to officially recognize them, and we couldn't do what we do without them. So thank you for that. And what are we going to do with the recognition from the governor? Is that going to be in the office or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We usually don't. Where do we usually?
Yeah. Okay. Then, and you're going to do the nurses now,
Yeah.
or is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Also, next week, our governor, as well as our nation, recognizes our nurses. Our school nurses play a vital part. They are the first often to greet our new parents when they come in nervous with allergy information or what happens when my child skins their knee, all the way up to our post-high school students. They serve them and they serve them well. Before reading the proclamation from the governor to recognize National Nurses Week, which begins Sunday, May 6th through May 12th. I think Sunday is the 6th. I just said that. It is? Okay. Our nurses are at Burley Moran, Sherry Eicher, Clark, Amy Sharon. Greenbrier is Ellen Muller, as well as Ann O'Connell, Jackson Villa, D. Bell, Johnson, Amy Peltler, as well as Gary Chauvin, who is within our division as an substitute, all-hands-on-deck floating nurse that is supporting Johnson right now. We also have Amy White at Venable, Kathy Jones at Walker, Ronetta Jackson, Buford, and Ann Sandridge at Charlottesville High School. May I read the proclamation? Whereas there are more than 108,000 dedicated registered nurses in the Commonwealth of Virginia, And whereas the registered nursing profession meets the emerging healthcare needs of Virginia citizens in a wide range of settings, and whereas professional nursing is an indispensable component in the safety and quality of care of hospitalized patients, and whereas the demand for registered nursing services will be greater than ever because of the growing population, continuing expansion of life-sustaining technology, and the growth of home healthcare services. And whereas more qualified registered nurses will be needed in the future to meet the increasingly complex needs of healthcare consumers, and whereas the Virginia Nurses Association, along with the American Nurses Association, has declared the week of May 6th through the 12th as National Nurses Week, in celebration of the ways registered nurses inspire, innovate, and influence their communities as advocates for high-quality patient care and improved healthcare systems. Now, therefore, our Governor, Ralph Northam, recognizes May 6th through the 12th as Virginia National Week in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and he calls the observance to all of our citizens. I didn't, unless I'm Gary. Nurse Chauvin, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come on up, please. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The next item we have on the agenda is Patrick and Jody Murphy. Patrick.
This is another recognition of our PBSIS. Are you introducing them? I am.
Okay.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair. I am, if you notice, I'm sitting in Mr. Henderson's chair.
Yes.
And I hope I serve well in that capacity as his son. So tonight, we would like to recognize Patrick Farrell as well as Jody Murphy. They have done an incredible amount of work and support of our teachers in training at all of our schools, as well as with the program at Greenbrier that we have, we call is SEAL, Social Emotional Learning. And they are here tonight to be recognized for their work. So if you would please just take a moment, I'm going to call them up to share, and then we will join in applause to celebrate them.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A lot of the work that Jody and I have started really started when we had the conversations talking about the strategic plan. We heard from our community in a very similar way as some of the voices that we've heard tonight, that there is a really urgent need in our school community for mental wellness. And so what Jody and I have done is we've co-facilitated a division-level group on mental wellness and what are the different aspects that what should that look like in our division. And so we were lucky enough to be recognized by the Annie Casey Foundation for how we went about to kind of selecting what kind of social emotional learning program we want to start to roll out in our division, which we are going to be starting to do in the fall at the preschool level and the kindergarten level. And so again, we were able to do this work with the great support of Dr. Atkins, Mr. Henderson, and really a very cross-disciplinary team of folks who know that this is a critical issue for our division and really truly support it wholeheartedly.
I don't have anything to add. He said it all.
Yeah.
So if we could please give them applause for their work.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to also thank Jody and Patrick for all of the work that they have done and the teachers who have been a part of developing our SEL, Social Emotional Learning Program, and under a big umbrella. Bullying and inappropriate behaviors are those areas that we're targeting with our program. That's not what we want to be a part of our learning environment. We now find ourselves at a point that we want to keep our students in school. There are behaviors that students had in the past that in our school system and in many school systems that would have warranted students being suspended from school. And across our Commonwealth and nation, we had many, many students who were leaving school not having access to the learning environment and being suspended for behaviors that oftentimes would relieve the school when they're suspended, but they would bring those same issues and deep-seated issues back into the classroom. So the behaviors may have stopped for the days that they were out of school, but when they returned, oftentimes we would see those behaviors returning also. So our approach now is to take a deeper look at what are the total needs of our students. In Charlottesville City, we have been very fortunate that we believe in the whole child, not just the academic learning of the student, but the social emotional learning of the student also. So bullying is something that we don't want in our schools. We don't want to tolerate the bullying, but at the same time, we want to help our students to understand how to resolve conflicts in a win-win way for all the parties that are involved, and how to have that internal regulation that helps them to problem solve and deal with the learning environment, even in stressful times. So I applaud you. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for all of our families, even when there are behaviors that may not be understood, and it causes our teachers and our parents sometimes great frustration. As we learn more, as we get more training, we will be addressing those issues, and our environment becomes those environments that are very healthy for all students. So thank you, and I applaud your work.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda are comments from board members, and before we begin, I wanted to note, and it's already been duly noted, that James Bryan is new to our board. He was recently appointed with it was a very competitive field. Some great people were tried, but Mr. Bryant, you rose to the top, and we look forward to working with you over the next several months, and potentially if you run for the next year in the future. So thank you for your efforts to, because it's a lot of hoops that you jump through to get here. And so with that being said, we have opportunity for board members to have comments, and if you have anything at this point you want to say, please do so. There'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Right.
I would like to publicly thank Dr. Atkins and my fellow board members for your warm and gracious welcome. Also, I would like to give a shout out to my former colleagues, my former students, and community members who gave me such a warm and rousing welcome. And for those community members who took the time to write letters on my behalf, I am forever grateful. Thank you.
Amy, did you have any comments at this time?
There's several things that I had written about, like the crossing guard. And, well, first I should say welcome. And I'm really sorry I was late. There was a cross of wires. I had to go get one of my sons. But talking about the crossing guard at Walker,
Or just getting an additional.
Yeah.
That's not an SRO.
Right. Or even if she's going to be there, but make sure we're consistent on having someone there every morning. And also, we were talking about the foreign exchange students that we have. If there's any way to have a connection with a South American group or an African group, we have some teachers that would be interested in helping with that. And then the law conference. We can talk about that at the end, though.
So there is a group, the International Neighbors. Is that?
No, this would be the foreign exchange program that we have. I think we have students that.
Sister City helps us with that also, and we've been meeting with them. We have done quite a number of exchanges, and we can get them to fold in those countries. We worked with Ghana.
Oh, yeah, right.
And we had some discussions there, and we have sent people to Ghana on trips. We have not had any to come. We worked on an effort about 2 years ago, so we'll continue to work on that to make sure that in South America, Africa, that we have some representation.
And if there was a staff member that had a contact, who would they get together with in the division?
The principal. The first person to talk with would be the principal.
Okay.
Get the ball rolling at the school. If it's a high school, talk to Dr. Irizarry about the exchange. We currently have a group of students who are scheduled to come in October of 2018.
Okay.
We had one in 2016. So it would talk with the principal first, lay the foundation forward, and then as the principal needs additional support, they'll let us know.
Okay. And I want to say thank you to everybody that came and gave comments today. It's very rare that we have them, and it really is helpful for us to be planning in the future and addressing those concerns. So thank you.
Okay. Leah?
So I would like to say thank you to Dr. Atkins and to the school division for allowing me to represent the school division in March at NSBA. Our school division received a digital award based on all of the things that we do as it relates to technology, learning, and everything that we do digital. So it was an honor to be able to accept that award, which I gave to Dr. Atkins last month. So I'm sure she put it in a nice place, or either she gave it to Mr. Faust and he's placed it in a great place. So that was very, very nice to have that happen. And your continued support of me when I represent the school division is appreciated. Yesterday we had our PEF board meeting, and for those of you that don't know, the activity that we participated in this year with PEF, because we do an annual fundraiser, the presentations made by the AVID program inspired everyone around the PEF table. So next year we will be doing what is called Secret Shopper. So stay tuned, and it's going to be patterned a lot after the project that the students did in AVID around Project Serve and various things that they did. So we're really excited about that, and it's not going to happen on a weekday, Dr. Atkins, so you won't have to worry about buses and people missing time from school, and it will also allow parents and family members to attend. So we're excited about that. We have 2 of our members of the board that are rotating off, so if any of you know persons that you feel from the community might be interested in PEF, please contact me so I can have those names submitted and explain to you what the process is for that. Second of all, I'd like to thank the AVID students for inviting me to 2 of their activities. They had an activity at CFA where they spoke to individuals in the organization about what they did and what actually happens there, because CFA made a generous donation to the AVID program to get our AVID lab up and running. And our students just asked the bestest questions ever. I was so proud of them. And one of the activities that they organized that Saturday, they did at Tonsler Park. And I'm just so glad that it wasn't raining and the weather was just right. So it's really nice when I see our students take on leadership roles and participate. And the activity on Saturday was coordinated by the young men in AVID. And often you always think of young ladies doing everything and taking the lead, but this time the young men stepped up, and I was very, very proud. Thank you.
Great. Well, I would also like to welcome Mr. Bryant to the board. I'm really excited about serving with you and learning from you. You've been here a lot longer than I have, And I really think you have a lot of valuable information and a lot of wisdom to impart to our division. So thank you for stepping up. And maybe we'll even get you to sing your remarks next time. That would be good.
That would be excellent.
Yeah. Just to kind of add to some of the themes that we've heard from today, next week, a week on I think May 10th, is National Mental Health Awareness Day. And it's a really important issue for our division to continue to focus on, as we've already heard here from some parents, that there are so many mental and emotional factors that affect our students' abilities to learn and to just sort of be in a school environment. And there's a lot of stress, too, that affects our teachers. And so it's really important to remember that these supports are vital to our mission in the division. And I, too, appreciate the parents who came forward today to talk about some things that are going on. It's not an easy thing to do, to come to the board and say these things. But that's why we're here. We're here to listen and to learn what is going on, and if there are things that need to be altered, we really want to be part of that process. So thank you for that. And then one of my favorite events that I got to go to was the City Schoolyard Garden Golden Trowel Awards. I love that. And it's just such an uplifting experience, and I love just seeing the success of our schoolyard garden programs all through the division and on so many levels. And so that's always a joy to me to be able to do that.
I'll go with Frey. Yeah.
I first want to thank everyone who gave comments today. It is really brave to come up here and speak your mind. And I think everything said was really a call to action, not only to the board members, but to everyone in this room, and I especially know my peers at Charlottesville High School. What was said today was something that has affected almost all of us personally, and it's something that we should be working to address in conjunction with board members, with administrators, and with teachers. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'd like to welcome my former counselor, Mr. Bryant, to the board. It is really an honor to be serving with you, and I really do owe you an email. What's going on at CHS is that we're all really excited to be getting out here for the summer. I'm counting down the days I have left. I have 12.
How many hours?
Don't ask. The student representatives to the school board, we're really pleased to have been serving on this board for the past year, or in the case of me and Nadia, for the past 2 years. And as that's winding down, we're looking to really solidify our legacy through the beginning of the student advisory board. But the three of us are all seniors, so we might need a little bit of prodding to really get that off the ground before senioritis really kicks in. Yeah, I know. I know. And then finally, it's really rare that high school students feel that making change is within their power. But I think throughout the past months nationwide and the past couple weeks at CHS, especially with our local Amnesty International chapter, it's safe to say that we've been proven wrong. So I don't know if there are any Amnesty International students left in the room, but Nadia, you do everything. But thank you for all of your work.
Thank you, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you as well, and good luck. And so excited. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm sorry, Lisa. Yep.
Yes, I'm going to miss you, and I've enjoyed working with you as well. Mr. Bryant, welcome. I look forward to spending more time with you here on the board as well. I also want to extend my thanks and gratitude for public comment, for parents bringing your concerns to our attention. I really do appreciate that. And I think I'll save the rest of my comments for later. Thank you.
welcome Mr. Bryant. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to working with you. I wanted to remind everybody, I'm going to say this up front, is that the Art Quest open house, or First Fridays, is tomorrow, I believe, at City Space, and so it's like opening tomorrow. So they're having a reception, and our students' work will be on display for the month at City Space. So please find time to walk around City Space during the next month, or come to the reception tomorrow, because, of course, our students are always doing superlative work, and it'll be quite a sight to see. I also wanted to say thank you to our public commenters, and in particular, I'd love to see kind of more information about John Jack Hegel. I love that idea of like naming any particular street that we might be able to do in an honorary way, after people who really laid the groundwork for us to be where we are today. So thank you, Mr. Gaines, for bringing that to our attention. I just want to also tell the parents of the Walker students that I've certainly heard from other parents this year, so I am hoping that Dr. Hastings will be able to hit the ground running with either restorative justice, PBIS. Obviously these things take a long time to filter through the division. So hearing Mr. Farrell and Ms. Murphy talk about the program next year starting in pre-K and kindergarten makes me happy that it's happening there, but it worried for the 5th and 6th grade. So I definitely would like to kind of continue to keep an eye on how it's working at Walker. And of course, those students today are at Walker, and like tomorrow, I think, are at Buford, because it happens just that quick. So that we're just kind of I just want to bubble wrap all of our kids and keep them on the right track. But that transition to Buford can be really challenging if you have no self-regulation or no ability to, and you don't have that kind of ability to communicate about responsibility and about forgiveness. It's so something that I know the division is working on and we continue to work on, but I think with some steady leadership at Walker, I'm really optimistic. And but I definitely want us as a board to continue to keep our eye on that, and any support that we can give as a community to Walker to support efforts, I would absolutely support.
Thank you. I will reserve my comments and for later, so we can get on with the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the consent agenda item. I know that there were some questions, so we.
Are there any further questions about the consent agenda? I have a question. Go ahead.
So I think the one question that I didn't have addressed, and we were hoping there was somebody here that maybe could speak to that, was just to talk a little bit more about the certification with the Albemarle Regional Migrant Education Program, and speak to that specifically, somebody, about how many students that affects within our division, and just the funding and how that
Story is, I believe we have Bev Catlin in the audience, and she supervises that program, and she'll give you an update.
Thank you.
Bev, thank you.
Thank you, members of the board. So we have very few migrant students. Look for the wording. The regional program is just that. It's Albemarle County takes the lead. It's the fiscal agent for it, and it's the surrounding counties are part of this regional consortium. And so currently, I think we have one migrant student. I think the most we've ever had is 5 or 6. Typically, they are students who have started as students in Albemarle County or one of the surrounding counties, and the families have decided to stay in the community. So they have been identified from another county, and then when they move into Charlottesville, the services continue for them. It's a very strong program. They offer excellent services for the students, and so it's really a bonus for us, because with one student, we would not receive any kind of funding, but with this, the Albemarle people, and again, done through this consortium, are the ones who work with the children. Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Any changes or items to be removed from the Yeah.
Me. Oh.
Okay. Any other changes? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Okay. Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, I will not be voting on the minutes from the 29th because I was not present.
Okay. Okay, then, the next item is action items, and it's approval of the 2018-2019 K-Tech local plan. Ms. Powell?
Chairman Wade, members of the board, Dr. Atkins, I'll be representing some of Jim's agenda items this evening. And this plan for career and technical education for next year was presented to you at the prior meeting. If you have questions, my friend Stephanie Carter is here this evening. So the recommendation of the superintendent is to approve the plan as it was presented.
I'll move the
And I second.
approval of the plan.
Say, if no questions or additional comments, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Dr. King will come and give the report for the special education annual plan, Part B, flow-through application.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Last school board meeting, March 29th, I presented to you the flow-through plan for the 2018-19 school year for the school board members to discuss. Since then, I did have an opportunity to share the plan with our SEAC members, and we had a discussion about it, and they also felt well about the plan. Therefore, tonight, I am here asking for you to have action of approval on the plan so that it can be presented next week to the State Department.
I move that we approve the special education plan.
I second.
It's been moved properly second. Any changes or addition? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Thank you. Dr. King, will present the student fee schedule for 18-19.
Yes, sir. Also, last school board meeting on March 29th, for your discussion, the student fees, fines, and charges for the 2018-19 school year was presented to the board. During that time, there was a follow-up question about uniforms that I do have an update that was shared from Patrick Johnson. And the question dealt with what's the dress requirements for our students in terms of PE uniforms. And PE uniforms are not required. There was the sale of about 3 last year. The dress for PE is appropriate wear that will allow for full participation in physical activity and the class. So at this time, Mr. Chair, I ask that action is taken on the student fees for next school year with a approval in that action item.
Yes.
I move that we accept the student fee schedule.
Second.
In addition or changes to that? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Thank you very much, Dr. King, and for, yeah. All right, we're going to items for discussion, and the first item is request for staff research and publishing waiver.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Our school board policy and regulation, file GCQB entitled Staff Research and Publishing, it notes that any work created by our teachers or staff members while working during school hours, during work hours, does belong to our division. We do have 3 employees today that I'm going to bring forward because there's a request, there was a review that the work prior to beginning, they presented to Dr. Atkins of the work that they were going to do. And now they are requesting a waiver from the school board that will allow them to have complete ownership of the work that they created. Before asking you to have a discussion about it, and I was thinking this was a discussion as well as action, but I will take, of course, your lead, Mr. Chair. I would like to invite Kateri Thunder as well as Matt Shields, and our third employee is Susan Ramsey, and she's out today, but I did want to let you know about her.
Okay, before you come, Dr.
Yes, sir.
Atkins wanted to add a little.
Yes, ma'am.
I do. Thank you, Dr. King, for that great explanation. One of the things that the board has acknowledged is that we want to recognize innovative thinking, creative thinking, and encourage innovation amongst our teachers. And we have teachers that put in not only their hours during the instructional day, but they spend an enormous amount of time beyond school hours and classroom hours working and perfecting their craft. And oftentimes they come up with innovative strategies that really impact student learning, and it happens to catch the attention not only to our local community, but well beyond our local community. And they are approached and asked, would you share that with me, or will you teach my school division, or will you teach another group of professionals how to do that? And when that happens, we need to come to the board to ask the board, because oftentimes there is some type of either honorarium or compensation that's involved with one of the teachers engaging in that work beyond school hours, well beyond the classroom hours. So we have 3 individuals that we're bringing before the board tonight to ask you to consider a waiver for the work that they've done in Charlottesville City, that they may use that work beyond. It does not take away Charlottesville City's right to the work. We retain that right and we retain that work, but it just gives the teachers permission to go out beyond our school division.
Can I ask a clarifying question before we continue? So, what are we? I'm not clear on what is it, a monetary, or is it time? To be going. What are we trying to do?
You are giving them permission to use the work that they have created during the instructional day, on instructional time, on contract time, the work that they have created. You are giving them permission to use that work in a presentation or as they consult beyond contract time. They will not consult during our time. You're not giving them time off. You're just saying, if someone asks you to come and consult during the summer or write a book with them on your own time, on the teacher's own time, you are giving them permission to do that.
And we own the intellectual property?
You still own the property, but you're giving them permission to own it also beyond the school division. Yes, and a good example would be, if many of our board members will remember John Hunter, who was a teacher for the gifted at Venable Elementary School, and during the instructional day, he worked with students who were Quest students, and he created something called the World Peace Game. And maybe 12 years ago, 11 or 12 years ago, he came before this board to ask the board if he could have the right to use what he had created. And much of that World Peace Game he used beyond our school division. He created outside of our school division, but he filmed in our school division using Charlottesville City students. The board gave him that permission. He then went out, and that film now has gone all over the world because of the permission that this board gave him to use that work beyond Charlottesville City schools.
So then, I'm just clarifying, that's all I'm doing, because I just want to understand what we're talking about. So I know that example, I see it all the time. So in terms of what that has meant, the profits that are made from the film or the camps that he runs is his money, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then, so the only rights we have is that it was created in our school division.
And if we wanted to use it, we can.
Okay,
Yes.
without having to pay a fee.
Without a charge.
Okay.
Correct.
Perfect.
So
So we
I would-
get to hear about these projects?
It sounds like you guys are doing great work. Thank you. We want to support these efforts. I frankly would like to move that we move this from information to action in addition to information. Okay.
Okay.
And briefly, because you could follow them on Twitter and Facebook and find out lots of information about what they're doing. I'd love to hear about what you guys are doing.
Sure. Oh, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Atkins, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Kateri Thunder. I'm a pre-K teacher at Burnley-Moran, and I'm also the pre-K4 math lead, and that's a picture of my lovely class. I'm going to share with you a little bit of background, real brief, of where this project came from for research and publishing, and then why Charlottesville City was identified, and then what the product will be. So the entire project is based off of Visible Learning by John Hattie. In case you're not aware of John Hattie, he is from Australia. And do you mind clicking to the next slide? Thank you, ma'am. And he has been working internationally to do meta-analyses of instructional strategies. And he completed more than 1,200 meta-analyses with more than 70,000 studies and covering 300 million students. And he really wanted to see what works best, what should we spend our time and our money on. Just to give you like a little reference point, we used to use a lot of, and we probably still do, Robert Marzano's work, and his studies only included 1 million students. So Hattie's work is much larger than that. And he found that with all of these students, you can easily get a really high effect size, but you want to find the effect size that is most effective, right? So it's even better than the teacher next door or not attending school or attending this school somewhere else. And so he found a hinge point. And so the instructional strategies that are above that hinge point of point 4 are the instructional strategies that will help students achieve the most in one school year. And so if you'll click to the next one, Charlottesville City has been working on implementing a lot of his research. Last year, we engaged in professional learning as a division to engage in 2 strategies, teacher clarity and feedback, and we went to professional learning throughout the year to learn what are those strategies, how can we implement them. And then, thank you, he's been working on publishing different texts so that teachers can see what does this really look like. So what do the strategies look like in different school systems around the world? What does it look like in literacy? And now he's working on what does it look like in math and what does it look like in science. And so, next, thank you. There's current work to publish books on visible learning for math in 4 grade bands. And from my previous research and publications, Mr. Hattie and, well, Dr. Hattie and Corin Press have asked me if I would co-author the pre-K2 grade band book and the 3-5 grade band book, which is great. But really exciting is that as co-authors, we were asked to identify school divisions that are doing this work already so that they could have accompanying videotapes of classrooms to show, as teachers are using the books, they can also see it for real and hear the teachers talking about their craft. And so I recommended Charlottesville City Schools, and Corin Press agreed. And so I identified 7 teachers, including myself and a math specialist. The math specialist, Calder McClellan, is here, and 2 of the teachers, Chris Lorigan and Rachel Caldwell, are here as well. And they're fantastic teachers. Mr. Henderson was also interviewed to talk about the division level work that's going on and how do you bring current research into practice. And so if you'll click to the next one, I just included a few snippets so you can see what kind of math work they were capturing as they videotaped math instruction, and then the amazing comments that teachers shared about their thoughtfulness in taking research and putting it into practice. And so I'm really excited and proud to be part of Charlottesville City Schools and to help make sure that internationally they are recognized. We're recognized for the work that we're doing to take research and put it into practice and make sure that we are having all of our students experience these instructional strategies that should help them make the most gains in achievement. And I'm really excited to showcase the teachers that have spent so much time and thoughtfulness to intentionally implement them.
We'll have them stand.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
So do you have any questions? I'm not sure what happens next.
I mean, it's just amazing the energy that you have. I'm
Oh,
just
thank
so
you.
grateful for all of you and your, that's amazing how you have time after, like, to do this. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations, and it's well-earned and deserved. So I'm so grateful that you have chosen us and that we've been so supportive of
I'm
you.
glad you all chose me to be working here.
Yeah,
So
no, thank you.
Well, thank you so
Our
much.
kids are
This is-
benefiting so much from
And
your
and I
efforts.
think, I know we have more to hear, but I think this goes back to earlier where we talked about recognizing the teachers kind of, I mean, we would have, after a long day, it could be very easy for you to say, okay, I'm
done.
leaving, and I know the crew, I know like Rachel, I know y'all don't know 9 to 5 or whatever. So it's great, and thank you so much. So are we going to
Congratulations.
take action after each one, or?
That's a great question, actually.
I think you can take action after each one, or
Okay.
it's up to you.
Okay. So I think we can go ahead and take action on this one since
I
Ms.
will
Thunder's
move
here.
what is the appropriate here? I will move the approval of this request for a waiver regarding staff research and publishing.
Yes.
Well done.
For Ms.
Well done.
Thunder.
Second, further discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Great. Thank you so much, and keep
Thank
up
you.
the good work.
Thank you very much.
you.
No pressure.
So I don't have slides. Thank you for your time tonight. I will keep it short. Freya, good to see you. Mr. Bryant, welcome. For the last 4 years, I've been developing the engineering curriculum here at Charlottesville City Schools. When I started 4 years ago, it was just a group of my students that I pulled out of my physics class, and we've now grown to next year, just at Charlottesville High School, we're going to have 12 sections of students taking engineering. That's just at Charlottesville City, at Charlottesville High School. And then if you include Beaufort, we're going to have about 250 students taking engineering next year, including the capstone class, which is it's an amazing thing to watch those kids work. Jonah, who you saw up here earlier tonight, who's headed UVA on a full ride as a Jefferson Scholar next year, has been blowing my mind the whole 4 years in that program. And I'm just excited to have so many students that have the opportunities to do engineering through Charlottesville City Schools. So it's been a blast for me to provide those opportunities for students. Over the last 4 years, I've seen that there is a need around the state and around the country for this type of curriculum. I think it's working pretty well here at Charlottesville City Schools, and I get requests a lot for help outside, and I usually turn them down, but I'm here tonight to say, now that my 3-year-old's potty trained, I think I have a little time on my calendar, so I'm going to I would love the opportunity to help other schools who are seeking to implement this kind of curriculum to do so.
Great. Yes. Well, I'd like to move that we accept Mr. Shields' request for a waiver. Well, whatever the right words are, but that we accept it.
Say spread the love. Yep.
Dr. Shields, thank you so much again for your efforts. I love that we're basically leading the charge in this, and so thank you for wanting to spend even more energy on making sure that other schools can kind of support their kids in this way, because it's a really tremendous support that our kids can do this all the way to capstone. This is an experience that every high schooler who would want to have it should be able to have. So thank you.
Thank you.
The kids love it, too.
So it's been moved and properly seconded. Any further comments? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Why would we
Congratulations.
say no?
Thank you.
It's Dr. King. Oh, you said it was another one, but then here's.
Mr. Faust, what have you been doing in your free time?
Susan Ramsey, you've
I'm
changed.
not here to represent me. I'm here to represent Susan Ramsey and the iSTEM team. So really quickly, just wanted to go over some of the stuff that's happening with iSTEM, similar to some of the work that Matt's been doing with our elementary and K through 8 STEM curriculum. There's been a ton of development and creation of original resources and materials and ideas, including lesson models and outlines for delivering STEM lessons, K-12 curriculum structures and how it scaffolds and works together. Even lesson materials, you can go to the next one, materials and supplies. In some cases, some of the materials being used in the lessons are actually designed and printed on the 3D printers that are then used in teaching science, and those kind of things are asked for often. And then, of course, professional learning. And just as an example, just the other day I was asked by a vendor who was here talking about something completely unrelated, do you know anything or any vendors who are offering STEM training? We get that question all the time for how to get their teachers trained and resources for STEM education. And I was like, So I'm here representing Susan and a lot of the work they've done, which now, if looking through some of the materials, it's unbelievable the resources that have been created in STEM education. And I know, as Matt said, there is a real need for it to help other school systems who are craving similar curriculums and offerings from K through 12 and getting those into their hands. So.
Mr. Chair. I would also add, Mr. Faust is here representing Susan because she is out right now. However, this evening on the consent agenda, personnel agenda, Susan was on that agenda, and she will also be leaving our school division. Dr. Ramsey has accepted a position with the Department of Defense Education Agency, and she will be the instructional systems specialist for the Department of Defense for science grades 6 through 12. And she will have regional responsibilities that she will cover, and her region is pretty large, and she will have some international responsibilities also. So congratulations to Susan. We will certainly miss her, but we wish her well in her next position.
What is it specifically that we are requesting a waiver for with respect to Ms. Ramsey? Some research or publishing? I'm just not clear.
No, the actual ask is for the materials that have been created. That includes the plans, for example. They designed and redesigned a track in order to do gravity and speed testing and how it all worked. I mean, literally spent days. And then creating the cars that the students actually wait. Now, those cars that they use to go down the tracks are actually printed on a 3D printer. So using CAD to design the car that was then printed. And so there's a whole lot of consumable materials and devices like that make, if you could give the plans and the racetrack specifications and so on and so forth to another school system, they could build it themselves. And so STEM is learning by doing at its essence. And so there's a ton of materials. And sometimes the limiting factor for school systems is actually going out and buying tracks and pre-made cars and all these materials, whereas if instead it's print and make your own, and here's some plans to do it, literally some of the tracks are made with Hot Wheel tracks that cost 99 cents per segment and things like that, like really, really approachable materials. So some of it is the ideas around that, and some of it is the actual plans of how to print these things out, and the actual design that went into those.
So it's just the plans that you're looking at?
Right. There's no specific research in this case. It's actually the materials, the curriculum, the scaffolded, the alignment, and the resources that are incorporated into those plans. That's correct.
The alignment is one of the other areas, the alignment of math, science, and technology.
I think this.
The curricular alignment.
I think if she gets to take this with her to wherever she goes, that would be a great benefit to her future school division. And that being the Department of Defense, I feel like that's reasonable. I just hope that, with her leaving, that we get to benefit from all of that she's taking with her as well, because it sounds, I know the students have been really engaged in that, in the programming this year and last year, so.
All of her work actually will stay with
That's
us.
right. None of it
She
disappears.
takes copies of it with her,
Right.
but everything stays with us.
The energy around it kind of.
It's a lot of work. I
Yeah.
mean, all of
Well,
our
she
kids are
has
going to this
large
app.
shoes to fill.
That's right.
Okay.
So I'll move this as a
Waiver.
waiver if there's no other questions.
The waiver for Dr. Ramsey has been moved.
Second.
And
Amy seconds this one.
Amy seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Great, thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is the Positive Behavior Intervention and Support and Link Crew update.
Yes, so To present this item to you this evening, we have Eric Irizarry and Patrick Farrell. So I'd like to ask them to come forward. Start with Link Crew? Okay, so we're going to start with Link Crew.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce our Link Crew team, starting with our Assistant Principal, John Morgan, Counselor Sarah Lane Hart, Nicole Carter, one of our English teachers, and Kelly Cossey, one of our seniors this year. So I'm actually going to turn it over to them because they're more exciting than I am.
Hi, thank you all so much for having us for a few moments tonight. We're really grateful to be sharing space with you and to tell you a bit about where we are with Link Crew and the end of our second year. A little over 2 years ago, Link Crew was just an idea that had the support of Mr. Henderson and you all, and we're just so excited to be heading into our third full year of the program. As you may recall, every freshman at CHS is assigned one or two Link Crew leaders who are upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors who've been trained in managing and running small groups. At freshman orientation, they actually run a full half-day program. That's the first day of high school for our freshmen. And then they meet periodically throughout the school year to provide support in the transition from middle school to high school. So we just wanted to give you an update on kind of where things stand. If I click this, will something happen? Okay. But first, I want Ms. Carter to share a couple anecdotes with you.
Thank you. So we just finished our interview process with our juniors and seniors who apply, or actually sophomores and juniors who applied to be Link leaders for next school year. We received about 250 teacher recommendations, and we had about 115 sophomores and juniors apply to be Link leaders. And we conducted interviews with all 115 of those students. From those interviews, what was interesting was that a lot of the students who applied were sophomores, and they were the first students at CHS to have be involved in Link Crew orientation and have a Link leader. And naturally, within the interview process or within the interview, they noted that a lot of the reason why they applied to be a Link leader was because of the experience that they had with their own Link leader as a freshman. Some of them cited things that were seemingly what we would think as insignificant, like somebody just saying hi to them in the hallways or just having that connection with an upperclassman to go to a football or basketball game with them, or having a freshman to help them navigate the hallways of CHS. So it was really inspiring and let us know that that Link Crew is actually making a difference because they wanted to be able to have that same impact on the incoming freshmen. So it was just great to hear the experience that they had. And here's another, we just pulled anecdotes, and these are quotes that were taken directly from some of the interviews, so we just thought that it was important to highlight that for you tonight.
So 3 years ago, when we really kind of recognized the need for a freshman transition program, and we knew there was a need, and we began to look for programs that were out there. We found Link Crew, and just to let you know, you can go to their, if you Google it, you can find out all kinds of things about it. It's a nationally recognized program that has copious amounts of data to show how the program, when implemented with fidelity, really helps change a building climate. And that's what we're talking about, is changing a building climate to help freshmen better adjust to high school. The process of changing a culture, you're looking at a 3 to 5 year process, 3 to 5 years to really get it implemented. It will take 2 more years to really, in 2 more years, every student at CHS will have had a Link Crew experience, and that will be a big thing. There are a lot of variables that go into building climate. I mean, so we can't say, Link Crew had X effect, right, on its own. But the staff here has been wonderful at the high school. It's one of the most caring staffs that I've ever been around, that is willing to go the extra mile for our students. And
that variable has stayed the same. I'm going to show you some data, and again, it's not causal, right? Too many variables to go there, but if you look at the data up here, I think you can see that the culture, whether it's all because of Link Crew, 10% part of Link Crew, whatever it is that we're doing here at CHS, a combination of all these things is really helping. If you look in 15-16, we have 4 data points: the number of referrals, how many students are failing greater than or equal to 1 course, how many students are on track to earn less than 5 credits, which is what they need to advance in standing, and how many unexcused daily absences there have been with our freshmen. So those are our 4 data points, and you can see up there that we don't have quarterly data, we just do semester and at the end of the year. But if you look at the numbers before Link Crew in 15-16, last year Link Crew's first year, and then look at 2017-18, and if you just kind of double those numbers, or some of them, if you double the number of referrals, we're on pace to be way, way lower than we've been in some time. The failures, that looks pretty consistent at semester, except that usually what we see at semester with failures goes down by the end of the year. So I'm anticipating a decrease there. Less than 5 credits earned, that number should also go down from 22, I think. But to me, the biggest number is the unexcused daily absences. Whatever combination of things we are doing with our freshmen, that's so significant. And I'm not here to tell you that Link Crew is the answer. That's solely, but it's all part of having a building climate change. I want to thank Dr. Atkins and Mr. Henderson, who were supportive from the beginning. We did receive a $10,000 Enriching Communities grant this year that will help us with part of the Bama Fund operation, and that will help us a lot with some of our expenses. Training is very expensive. Right now we have 5 staff members trained. Our plan is to have some more trained. We have some big plans for next year to use some of what we want to use some of the grant money on, and we're just really excited. But I want to turn it over to a student. They're the ones who speak the most powerfully about all this. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Kelly Cossey, and I'm a senior at Charlottesville High School. And I've been a Link Crew leader for 2 years now. I did not have the opportunity to be a mentee, but I was a mentor. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that. So basically, Link Crew has given me the opportunity to be a mentor to an underclassman. Basically, we help them get around the building, get familiar with the facility, and get used to the grades, tell them what classes to take next year. We also help them with stress, so they're not too, they know to enjoy their high school life or career, but also know that school is important, and kind of lead them through what I went through, what the high school life is like. And I just think that Link Crew has given me a great opportunity to be a mentor and learn that when you first enter high school, it is scary, but if you have somebody else that's there with you, it is easier to go through that path. So Link Crew is doing a great job at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
So one thing I just wanted to add, we have a picture from 2017 freshman orientation, which was August 14th. Our freshman Link Crew leaders this year were trained August 10th and 11th, and we had quite a big couple of days in our community, obviously. And August 14th was really the first time as a school community that we all got back together. And the pictures don't capture the moment entirely, but it was a really special event, and especially coming together as a community to experience joy and excitement and being together. I think for most freshmen, it was a positive and a fun day, not a scary one. So we're just really grateful for our student leaders because that was a completely unprecedented experience, and they did an amazing job. From 7 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they were amazing. So just wanted to give them kudos, and Kelly, you were a big part of that as well. So we're really just here tonight to say thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're excited to see where we go in our next few years with Link Crew, and I also want to take a moment to thank John Morgan, who has been instrumental in not only believing in this idea, but really making sure that it came to fruition. So thank you, Mr. Morgan, very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And
thank you. Oh, and I just want to say, we have such wonderful teachers, and we're going to celebrate them next week. But I think our number one resource is the students in the building. And if you've seen their leadership this year, it's been inspiring, not only nationally, but just here with many of the projects that were scheduled this year and some of the projects that were new. And this is an important program moving forward. And when you look at culture and climate of a school, it's really down to the students. Do they feel welcome? Do they feel safe? Do they have a belonging? And this program has done wonders for morale around the building this year. It's been one of those tough years, but I think one of the main reasons is our students coming together, and Link Crew has been a huge part of that. So that's
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, and I think it was really the will of this board many years ago during one of our retreats where we discussed how we really wanted to see more students being mentors, because we had talked about the 100 Black men and how we are always trying to get adults to help students. But the truth is, students can help students. And it's really exciting. I know many of us were there at the Tom Tom Festival, where this was kind of this rollout, and really excited about it. And I'm so thrilled to see the fruits of all this labor. And thank you so much. It's so exciting, and it's great to hear from our students. This is really working, and those numbers, there you go. I mean, it is part of a bigger wheel, but it's all these spokes have to work together. So thank you so much for all of your leadership.
That's a good question. Yeah, I just have a question. I'm wondering, not all pairs of kids or people gel with each other. And what happens if it isn't a good match? What happens then? Or if there's an incoming student who's particularly anxious and, difficult to connect with?
Well, what we were trained to do during our orientation for those long period of hours that basically what we do is we try to look at the positives instead of looking at the negatives. So let's say, for instance, I didn't get along with the freshman, so we look at some things that we have in common. So instead of focusing on what we don't like, we focus on what we like and try to find common ground with them.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Really is.
Yes.
None of us could have said it like that. That was good.
Maybe some adults should take some of
Yes,
those
yeah.
lessons.
Can I just ask a question that because we always go on vacation right before school starts, and now I have another person coming up as a freshman, and we probably will miss it again. But that is one of the issues that I wonder how you are approaching. I know that we got multiple phone calls from the mentor, so, my ninth grader was fine transitioning because of that. But I just wonder for those kids who can't make it on that day.
So appreciate that question. We're really excited this year to have freshman orientation occurring the closest it's ever occurred to the first day of school.
Nice.
So it will actually be August 20th, which is just right before school starts, which will help with a lot of issues. But to answer your question, we strongly encourage everyone to attend, and if life events mean that someone can't, then we just make sure that in the first week of school, their Link Crew leader will touch base with that student to introduce. And also, in the first couple of weeks, we know we have a lot of new students transferring in from a lot of school divisions, so our Link Crew leaders do a wonderful job of making sure they're continuing to build community in their small groups.
It's very impressive. Good work, y'all.
I think this is a great program, and I think maybe some ideas from this can be shared with Dr. Hastings at Walker and the things that he tried to implement, because we can see this is a process that is dynamic, is never, because you always have new students, and I like the idea what you said is that it takes 3 to 5 years to kind of change the culture, and it's going to take some time, but I think we're well on our way, and So.
Yeah, if I may, just for your information, there is a middle school version of this program.
Nice.
It's called Web. And, you know, it's the same thing except geared towards middle schoolers developmentally and what they can handle and what they tend to be able to do interpersonally and those kind of things. So it is out there if you want to explore
But
it.
we're not using that
No,
right
we're
now.
not. Right now it's
So
just
really
the
don't
high
have
school.
one middle school, we have two.
Well, great. Thank you guys so much. We
guys are
appreciate
amazing.
it. And
We
good
do.
luck, Ms. Kasi. Thank you.
Awesome.
Mr. Chair, this has been the best meeting ever.
Yes, I know. I know it's just
Rah-rah.
really rich. Really rich.
It's like a culmination of a year's worth of work.
Yes,
so.
it's kind of worth it. Looking outside, seeing the beautiful weather, you know, you're getting some good stuff. The next item is the local
Well, we have.
plan for the gifted.
We have one more
PBIS.
an
Oh, I'm
update.
sorry.
In addition to the Link Crew update, part of this
Tiered
agenda item is
systems.
also an update on PBIS.
Oh,
and we have
yes.
Patrick Farrell here for that.
Good evening again. Mr. Henderson kind of asked me to kind of briefly speak to an update on PBIS, but also speak to something that we've kind of come in development over the last month or so, a Charlottesville tier system of support. But let me first kind of speak to the PBIS model. So for 5 of our elementary schools, that's basically all of them except for Johnson. We're in year 2 of implementation. And so this year, those schools have been working hard on setting up a discipline process where you have a tier 1 kind of team that supports the whole school that goes back and forth between the faculty and administration and work on establishing a discipline process where it's very clear as to what are the expectations for teachers as to what practice and strategy should they be using before a student gets referred to the office. And let's get common agreement and common language on that and continue to emphasize, what are the common expectations that all students share and all adults share in that building. And so a lot of that work, especially kind of setting up their discipline data systems has been a big part of their work this school year. Johnson, Walker, and Buford, they've kind of, I guess, many this year have come to realization that it's not a 3 to 5 year process and then you're done. A lot of times we talk about 3 to 5 years as initial implementation, but the fact that it really is a continuous improvement process. And so for those 3 schools, they each looking at the data that their school is producing, are planning for next year kind of what professional learning that is need to be very specifically targeted to their schools. Again, like we've talked a little bit about tonight already, that would best support the school climate and to support both the students and staff of those schools. And then the last piece, as far as an update, Dr. Irizarry has kind of led as far as the implementation for Charlottesville High School. This summer, in July, there'll be a team of 8 or 9 Charlottesville High School educators going to an intensive 3-day training, basically to kind of almost like a PBS boot camp to kind of get them acclimated to the system and get them set up to begin implementation for PBS this coming school year. What I want to kind of speak to next is what we realized with many of the different things we've heard tonight. We've heard about Link Crew and even the STEM, that for many people, especially as staff, when we start the school year, it seems like a bit of overload. There's we have 35,000 things, it seems like, that's going on in the school division, and we expect our teachers and admin and families and communities to be on top of it all. And we realize that many times we're not really speaking the same language, that we're talking about very similar things, but maybe we're doing different turns, kind of depending where we're coming from. And so it really is kind of a conversation that we were having, again, led by Dr. Atkins and Mr. Henderson, that to kind of take the Virginia Tier System of Support model and really kind of make it our own and, really call it a Charlottesville Tier System of Support and talk about common ways in which we do things across domains and across disciplines. And so you see the diagram that's kind of on here right now. We talked about one part of it is called professional learning. Obviously, we've done a lot of work with our instructional coaches on professional learning communities and in getting those set up and getting teams together and an informative way to look at data. And we're realizing that we need to do and then we have our PBS teams, we're set up to do the same thing, but they don't realize they're doing the same thing. And so we want to have that common language about how we come together and support teachers and support students, and that we want to go about it in a similar way. In a very similar fashion, the instructional framework. We talk about learning by design, where we start with the big idea. What's the data we need to find out whether we're getting to the idea, and then what's the learning plan to get there. We should be very intentional with that, with behavior and mental wellness, as we are with literacy and academics, that we really need to be thinking and talking in the same language, and obviously in how we look at data, that if literacy, that if I know if I'm doing a literacy strategy right, there's a walkthrough document that says these 5 things that I should see in the classroom. Well, an admin or a fellow teacher should know, what are the 5 positive support strategies should I be seeing in this classroom? What are the trauma-aware practices that I should be seeing in this classroom? So again, we all have this kind of common language and a common way of doing things that we're not, again, repeating ourselves to that. So this is something that we're going to be rolling out, again, to faculties in the fall, just to kind of make sure that we're all in the same place and really almost like just reduce the mental load on staff, saying this is not 17 things we're expecting you to have in your head. This is a general framework, and pretty much everything we do in the division comes under this model, and hopefully it provides some clarity for folks in that regard. And then the other piece we just wanted to share again is that we have our 3 systems there, and so that's kind of like the how of what we do. The what of what we do, and what we set up our tier system support, again, is we talk about 5 domains. And historically, we really just talked about literacy and math under the old response to intervention model. We're realizing now, like we've heard tonight, that these things are very kind of cross-disciplinary and reinforce one another. So we want to be thinking in terms of what are our 5 domains: literacy, math, attendance, behavior, and mental wellness. And then so we talk about tier 1 being, what do we do for all kids? How do we support all staff? For tier 2, how do we support some kids who might need a little extra support? How do we support staff that might need a little extra support? And then tier 3 for the intensive needs. And so again, this kind of really anything that we do in Charlottesville City School comes under one of these systems here, and the intent of that is just to really provide a clarity of purpose and transparency so people see how it all kind of hangs together. Is there any questions?
Anybody have questions? Well, I have one. So, Mr. Farrell, I'm wondering, when you hear things like the parents who came forward tonight from Walker, suggesting that the environment there is not optimal and there's some real issues, what do you do with that? How do you then take these models and specifically figure out what's not working at Walker?
I mean, I think we have control over 2 things. We have control over the environment that the adults kind of can create, and then we have kind of control over what skills do we want our students and our adults to have. And so we're really kind of taking that dual approach. It's like, are there adjustments in the environment that we can make? And so obviously, and a great example is the Link Crew, where just kind of creating a system of a general school climate. And then, do people have the skills they need to have? So whether those skills are acquired through a restorative justice program or through social emotional learning, we're very intentional teaching of what does it mean to be self-aware? What does it mean to be socially aware? How do I have self-management skills, responsible decision-making, relationship skills? These are all things that some kids come to us fully intact with these skills in place. Other kids, we need to instruct that. And so we need to explicitly teach it, we need to model it, we need students to feel comfortable with that, and we need the adults to feel comfortable teaching that and know that they in turn are supported. So I guess, for me, it's a combination of working on the environment piece and also working on the skill building piece.
And how do you think you're doing on that at Walker specifically?
I think many of these things for this Walker this year, it's been a needs assessment. I mean, we've seen that there is a need for climate support there, and so I don't think anyone's been kind of particularly kind of happy with what's going on with Walker. I think the teachers are frustrated. I think some students are frustrated, and then some people thinking, what I'm doing seems to be working. And so again, I think we need to bring the whole system to bear to support behind them. What can we get that commonality of experience? Because I've been in Walker where there are classrooms where wonderful things are going on. How can we have that commonality experience across the board? And what are those things and adjustments we need to make in the environment? And what are the supports we need to bring to folks so they feel they have the tools they need to better support folks? But it's not an overnight fix, and we know that we're going to need to work very hard on it.
Right.
I just want to clarify. So the July training is CHS teachers. Is that what you had said?
I'm sorry?
There's going to be July training,
Yes.
and that's the CHS.
So that will be CH's, they've identified students and staff, staff and administrators, I should say, and they're going to be the core team members for PBAS for CHS. And so they're going to get trained on how to roll out the system and turn around and roll it out for all of CHS. So it's kind of a train-the-trainer type of effort.
And I can't remember if Walker had gone through the training.
They've done so maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And so what they do also offer are booster sessions as well. And so that could be certainly something we consider for the PBS team at Walker is, do we really need to kind of a reboot? Because it's not you start one spot and end at another. It's a continuous improvement process.
Continual. As Dr. Irizarry said, this year has been in particular,
Unprecedented.
Yes, exactly. So maybe that would be beneficial.
Ms. Lawfer, I will add that Walker has recently gone through the PBIS training. They actually went through, Mr. Farrell, I believe last summer.
And they did a booster session last summer.
They had a group that came in last summer and went through the training. So they went through during the school year last year and then a follow-up during the summer.
That's correct.
I will also add that many of us have seen the movie Paper Tigers. Excellent movie, excellent. We're very fortunate that we have just contracted with the principal that was featured in that movie, Jim Sporletter, and he's coming to Charlottesville City. He will be with us on June the 11th for training, and he has written a book talking about the processes that he has used in order to turn around the climate in his high school. So we're very grateful. We've also had Allison Simpson Jackson, who has provided some professional development for us also. So we look forward to having Jim Sporletter coming in June.
Very much so.
The only thing I would just mention too is the restorative justice piece that I think it was Mr. Scharf was mentioning. I know I took advantage of taking a course with Bob Garrity during that time when we had that grant.
Right.
And, if there's any way to incorporate his work or that work in the school division, I think it is the next piece, right? It's when you do choose to do something wrong, then you have to make amends of that, not only with yourself, but the community, and then come back with a better place to start at. So looking at that would be like the next logical step, really. And I'm sure we're working on that. I'm just mentioning that.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Leading this effort. Really appreciate it. Juan, you're back.
Thank you so much. The next item we have on the list is the local plan for the gifted.
Good evening again. Bev Catlin is with us to present the gifted plan for your consideration.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Atkins, the Quest program is proud to present the 2019-2024 local plan for the education of the gifted. This plan is required by state regulations and must follow a specific format. For the past year, Quest staff members and parents on the Quest Advisory Committee have worked diligently to create this document. Committee members and Ms. McKeever, our school board representative, worked side by side with Quest staff to analyze the Virginia Board of Education regulations governing educational services for gifted students, to evaluate the current Quest program relative to these regulations and best practices in the field, and to develop a plan that reflects what we learned. We have 18 parents, 1 school board member, myself, and Quest staff are ex officio members of that Quest Advisory Committee. Before sharing highlights of the plan, I would like to introduce Dr. Joshua Greenhoe, Chair of the Advisory Committee, who will share our process for developing the plan.
Thank you. Hi.
Welcome.
I have 3 children that are in this school division. I have one that graduated last year, one that is currently a junior, and one that is an 8th grader at Buford. I've been a member of the Quest Parent Advisory Committee for over the past 10 years, most of that as a chairperson. I have found my service on the committee to be very rewarding. The Quest staff is extremely passionate. They come to all of our meetings, and we have very intense discussion and debate at each of those meetings. And each year I'm able to point to specific things into the program that I know that us as parents have had a direct input on. This year we've had a main focus to spend time on developing this local plan. It's a 6-year cycle, and the timing of the cycle is deliberate so that it integrates with the division's strategic plan. We've had a lot of discussion through the year, and the parents have been very involved in the process, and I can look at changes in each of the drafts and know that the parents have had a lot of input. I'm very proud of the local plan that Bev is presenting tonight, and I hope that you're proud of the plan as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Yes, over the many years.
So throughout the new plan, there are revisions from the current plan. The major changes, however, are the goals and objectives we set for each of the 6 required areas. For identification, our focus will be training staff on the characteristics and special needs of gifted students from diverse populations as we review and refine our multi-criteria identification procedures. For delivery of services, we will work collaboratively with all specialists in the schools, reading specialists, math specialists, school counselors, ESL specialists, and explore after-school enrichment and mentorship opportunities. In the curriculum and instruction area, Quest and ArtQuest specialists will focus on ways all teachers can offer students instruction with appropriate extension and rigor while monitoring their academic and artistic growth. And for professional development, we will help all staff members at the school grow in their knowledge and skills in understanding and addressing the special needs of the gifted. For equitable representation, staff will provide training on the non-traditional characteristics of gifted students from varying backgrounds and research screening tools that will allow for equitable representation. And objectives for parent and community involvement ask us to increase public awareness and understanding of the special needs of the gifted as we find new and innovative ways to communicate with our parents. This is an ambitious plan for the program, but Quest and ArtQuest teachers are excited to begin. Erin Eichhorst, the ArtQuest coordinator, and I are happy to answer any questions you may have. Erin is here with me, so if you have questions about the Quest part, the academic part, I would be happy to answer those, and if there are questions about ArtQuest, Mr. Eichhorst would be happy to answer those.
Okay. Questions, so we'll start here with Lisa. You have any?
Thoughts and questions, and just want to thank you for this presentation. And I think, first off, being a newer board member, I'd love to have the opportunity going forward. I mean, you mentioned there were several changes to the plan, and potentially in a presentation to be able to see highlighted or differentiated what those changes were from the prior plan. And so I didn't have the opportunity to go back and look at the prior one to see how or what differences you overlaid into the current and new goals. So I'd be very curious, just going forward, to be able to see those. And I guess I have a question also. I'm looking at the plan, which is up here, as well as how it overlays into the official document, and I was wondering if the goals are laid out in any particular order or if they're weighted. And I just wanted to share that I really have a personal investment, and I feel like the 6th goal, which if we could flip to that.
Equitable representation?
Yeah, I feel like as a school division, I would like to see, and I personally will speak for myself, that I feel like that goal should be probably number 1, if not number 2.
So that is the format that we get. The State Department of Education gives us the template and lays out. So we fill in the blanks in the template. So
I did read that, and I saw
5 is
that
their
it is.
5th.
And I honestly feel like the template at the state level should be switched as well, because I think our focus needs to be, and I hope that we continue as a division to invest and focus on, identifying and making sure that it's more equitable.
I just want to clarify, you were, I didn't hear the end of your sentence. You said, so the state requires like number 5 to be equitable? That's where equity is in the state plan?
So what we get is a template where we fill in the sections.
Okay, but that indicates that it would be blank. So could we put
Equitable representation of students is item number 5, or is goal number 5, area number 5, in the template.
Gotcha. So that's not a fill in the blank.
And underneath that, there is a
That's
blank.
like not an actually innovative thing. It's just that's required by the state.
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that
Go
that's
ahead.
our fiscal.
That was, I just want to clarify that.
Okay, let's let Lisa finish her comments.
I guess, and then as a follow-up to that, along the same lines, and if we're talking about equitable and the different assessments that are being used, whether it's portfolio or different tests that are being utilized in kindergarten or first grade when we're trying to initially identify, I just wanted to ask if our teachers are trained and supported, or how they're supported, I guess, to recognize how giftedness is manifested differently in culturally and linguistically diverse students.
There's training, so I have received training through the University of Virginia and following up in best practices in the field. The same is true for the Quest teachers, and then they go to the schools, are part of professional learning communities, meet with kindergarten, first grade teachers, actually meet with teachers across all grade levels, and that is something we very specifically have professional learning on. And it's, you can see, it is also a goal for us to keep doing that, to stay abreast in the field, and to keep finding even more opportunities to do that professional learning.
And so in looking at the identification process, and when that's periodically reviewed, is that on an annual basis, when we're looking at best practices to constantly update that?
We are looking at it as a staff after each identification meeting. I'm looking at Mr. Eichhorst, and he and I have conversations all the time about identification, and then we do annually review the data for the number of students referred and identified each year in the division, and compare that to previous years and see what the pattern is. And that's data that I will be sharing with the board as we get closer to the end of the school year.
And maybe I should talk to you personally about this, but I was just curious if I presented a quick scenario, if you could kind of take me through what you think might happen. So if we had a student moving into our school division, say second or third grade, which is typically after that first initial assessment is being done, and say that they're potentially either struggling with the English language or are a struggling reader, but are doing really well math-wise. How are we capturing them, or are we making sure that those students aren't?
So typically, if I take a second grader, so what we would do is there are a number of pieces that we would look at. So if the strength was in mathematics, we would be looking at the assessments that were given at the beginning of the year. That may be enough for the gifted specialist to be alerted to that student and talk with the classroom teacher and bring that child in to join some of the math activities, experiences that we would offer through Quest. See how that student performs, start collecting data, a portfolio of information, and when we have the information to bring that case to the identification meeting, we would do that. At any point, a teacher can make a nomination, a parent can make a nomination, and move that process along also. But our gifted specialists are constantly reviewing the data, and that's why they go to professional learning community meetings, so that they're looking at the data for students in English and mathematics.
Thank you. And then the last question I guess I have is, and I'm
assuming that best practice is really looking to try and identify these kids early. And I understand the funding probably had changed. I mean, we used to have a talent development person kind of pushing in, but again, I personally really feel it's important that all of our kids have the opportunity to be exposed to however or whatever this material for gifted or Quest students looks like, and would like to ask all of us to continue to consider some type of talent development position again, and I'm just curious to hear other people's thoughts.
So I will share an idea that is included in this plan with that is we're now looking at trying to make a stronger connection with the iSTEM teachers and sort of looking at iSTEM as a another talent development resource for our students. And so how are students performing in the activities with the iSTEM teacher, and that those experiences creating the levels of challenge with them, and then could those products, rubrics, become part of the portfolio for that student. So that's, again, a new area that we want to explore as the iSTEM program keeps getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about identifying children in giftedness with respect to science in this plan. That's like not a new area that we're going to identify. Like, we're still just on math and literacy.
Right, but the iSTEM program does a great deal with math. It does a great deal with critical and creative thinking, so it's a tapping into those kinds of experiences, which is what the talent development program was doing. So if we're looking at sort of a comparable experience to talent development, I think that the iSTEM is a way for us to go.
And Dr. Atkins wanted to chime in right quick, and then you.
Ms. Torres, I think one of the other ways in which we look for giftedness in students is through our SEAL program and through social and emotional learning. Oftentimes the strategies that Ms. Catlin has identified are those strategies that are the typical strategies. However, there are some students who have behaviors that mask their giftedness. And so putting in place strategies in which we can help to develop that social internal regulation with students, giving them the opportunity to bring forth their talents. We have seen just this year students being identified in their giftedness coming through in our SEAL program that may not have been recognized had they not been in that program. So we're being very intentional with our program. I will also remind everyone that in our SEAL program, we have placed a teacher for the gifted who has expertise in recognizing students' giftedness across different ethnicities, socioeconomic levels, and very intentionally going after the students in order to bring out that academic potential that they have. So along with these strategies, we've put some other strategies in place also.
I mean, I'm very excited about that, actually, because it does allow other students to be exposed to the Quest material besides just the identified gifted and talented kids. Those who are in the SEAL program. Right. Also, I know personally, as a first grader, my child is getting regular exposure to the Quest material, even though he's not identified, or none of the first graders are there. But she pushes in, as a lot of the Quest teachers push into the K-1 classrooms so that they can become aware of the children who are really responding to the material in a gifted way, but also it exposes the children to those materials.
And is that happening consistently at each elementary level?
That is my understanding. I mean, at least,
vary on the
teachers
number
that
of
have come
kids
to
and
the
staffing?
I mean, those teachers have been here a long time, those Quest teachers at elementary school level, so my understanding, at least 3 of those schools are having that on a regular basis.
Ms. Torres, we believe that's consistent across our school division, and one of the other components would lie with our principals, our administrators in the building, who are keenly focused on making sure that we dig deep and find out the potential of all of our students. So there is an intentional effort to make sure that we uncover that potential.
Great. Thank you.
I just want to ask, because I understand on page 11 there is discussion of the map as like an additional valid and reliable measure or procedure, but does this local plan continue to require map testing for Quest kids, Quest identified children, so that we can measure their growth over time?
The regulations require that we report annually to parents on academic growth. And so the assessment that the Quest program has recommended to the division is the MAP test. And so this plan includes that as one of the assessments or the assessment that we would use for measuring academic growth.
And that is not necessarily going to change, even though that regulation isn't going to change because the plan has changed.
The regulation is something completely different. That's from the State Board of Education is the regulation.
I see. Oh, I didn't realize. Thank you.
Yes, that's from the State Board.
And just to clarify, did we, we're, on Monday we have a meeting. Is this where we're going to, have we approved this? I can't recall.
This plan?
Yeah.
This is coming to you as an information item tonight, and then we'll come back in June as an action item.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. Because then I missed a vote or something. Not be unusual, but.
I have one quick question.
Done, thank you.
Lisa, are you done? I'm just curious about the advisory committee and the diversity on that committee, ethnic diversity and financial income diversity on the committee. So maybe either of you could speak to that.
I would be happy to.
We work very hard to have a diverse committee. And, I think it is representative of our division. So that is something that we strive to do. And I do believe we have a diverse group.
It's very intentional. I feel like we're, the Quest teachers at the elementary schools and at all of our schools are really working hard to be ambassadors for equitable representation on this advisory board. And to that end, we have incredibly lengthy discussions about all of the issues that we consider.
Well, so these issues are in good hands.
There's a lot of
it's always a push and pull. So, but yeah, and I definitely know that there's some interest in talent development positions for the next go around of budgets. But yeah, I really, the parents are exceptional.
Okay, thank you. Sure, you have any other?
No,
Leah?
thank you.
No, my question was answered. I think it's getting clearer.
Okay, thank you. James? Okay, Amy?
The only thing I'm wondering is, to Ms. Torres's point, how many students are you identifying that are not in the K-1 setting? There's so many studies out there that tell us that children really develop their language skills at age 7, and we are constantly, as a society, expecting more and more of children at a younger age. So I'm just curious if you could break it down. Is it about 10% of kids that are identified for Quest are after first grade, or would it be?
So I will have that data for you soon. We are collecting the data for the whole year, and we'll break it down by the different subgroups and by the different grade levels. So.
Because I wonder if it should be some kind of goal for us that we would see more students that are being identified older. I know that we had, Dr. Atkins had identified students in the 5th grade that could be, mid-year taken into honors math. And I think that was so critical to understand that, there may be 3 components of a child being into an honors course, but if they only got 2, but they show mastery by mid-year, that we should push further. It helps them, it helps all of us. And so I don't know if that's something the board would be interested in or if that's even appropriate, but I would love to hear from the parents if they think that that is something we should maybe have higher numbers that are identified later, So just something to ponder, I guess, as we're...
So, Bev, are you finished, Amy?
Thank you.
So as far as gifted and talented, I have a couple of scenarios that will help me, if you could play it out, it would help me from the questions I may receive. Let's say you have a student that he or she may not be strong in math or the sciences, but that teacher kind of gleams some other gifts that student might have, whether it be that he or she can construct something really brilliantly or uniquely. What type of outlet or opportunities could that teacher say, it might be something here, how can we pursue it further?
So there are a couple of pieces to that. One is we do identify in specific aptitude areas, English and mathematics. And that has turned out to be a great strength for us, moving to that model in terms of increasing the diversity of our pool, our population of Quest students. So we look for both the advanced level thinking, and at some point it is about the achievement in that area. So if there is a student who is not achieving, again, especially as you move up through the grades, we would be, but the teacher is saying, but I think there's something here, that's when the gifted education specialist would say, I need to bring this child in, I need to go into this classroom, I need to work with this student and start to make that connection and see if we can start to support, encourage, and push that child so that we get a match between what the potential is and what the achievement is. Okay. At some point, and I'm thinking about, we've listened to or heard from all these high school students, at some point, the two parts sort of have to come together. Mm-hmm. And so that's our job as Quest teachers, is to support those that we have identified and to keep searching for those who have that potential but are not yet achieving at that level.
So, thank you. You answered. What about students that are new to our community that may have, English at this point as a second language, and it just might be the whole barrier of culture, and So
I can tell you right now, we have and we will continue to have a strong relationship with our ESL teachers. You remember, the other hat I wear is ESL, so when I'm talking with them about gifted, or I'm talking with gifted about ESL, we put those parts together. Mm-hmm. And I can say that we have a strong number, relatively speaking, we have a strong number of ESL, but even more former ESL students. There's a point at which we can have ESL students who may participate with us, but there's a point at which they have to have enough English language probably to actually go through the whole process and be identified. Mm-hmm. It's probably not likely that a student who is hardly speaking English is going to immediately be identified. But I can tell you, we have some students who are hardly speaking English who are working with the Quest teacher. And then we, again, are supporting them, helping them grow, working on the English language, gathering data, and then we will bring that to an identification meeting. So we certainly are very aware of that. We ask ESL teachers, we specifically go to them and ask them to nominate the students that they work with to be considered for the program.
Are we also going to ask the social workers in the SEAL program?
The teachers in the SEAL program, yes, very much. I actually sat at the meeting with those teachers when we were talking about the nominations at that school.
Mr. Wade, I can give you an example of one of our L students that was actually Dr. Shields gave me. A student came into his engineering class, was not speaking English, new to our country. Had experienced a great deal of trauma prior to coming in. And the student started working in engineering and ended up one of the top students. Right. As that student was working, still not speaking English very well. But the more opportunity we give students to demonstrate their knowledge, the more we can see their potential, where language is not a barrier. As a former special education teacher, oftentimes we would assess our students with a nonverbal assessment so that they could demonstrate their knowledge without language being a barrier. And so we have to do that. The more often we do that, I think we get to the true potential of our students. So we need to move forward rapidly with our problem-based learning, our problem-based assessments and activities that engage our students.
Thank you. We'll be voting on this next month, so if you have any other questions between now and our meeting next month, please share it with Bev, okay?
We know where to find you.
Yeah, everywhere, yeah. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the math books.
Hello again. We have Carolyn Swift with us this evening to speak to you about the math textbook adoption process and the outcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Atkins. I'm very excited to speak with you all tonight about the new math curriculum adoption. So in this presentation, I would like to go through our process, our recommendations for this adoption, and then the cost of the resources to the school division. So a little bit about the process. So in September of 2016, the VDOE approved the revised 2016 math standards of learning. And so in order for our teachers to understand and be prepared for the crosswalk year, I created an online course through Canvas that reviewed the 2009 and the 2016 revisions for each grade level and math course, which provided a summary of the additions, deletions, and the edits to the math standards of learning and also the curriculum frameworks. So last summer, our curriculum teams used the 2009 and the 2016 curriculum frameworks and the revision documents to align our GPS resources, which includes our pacing guides, our instructional resources, lesson plans, and the assessments. And so this work really helped prepare our teachers for this year, which was the crosswalk year. So as a result of the newly revised math standards, the state started the textbook adoption process. We were fortunate to have one of our very own, who was up here earlier, Dr. Kateri Thunder, our elementary math lead. She participated on the state textbook committee. And so finally, when the state committee approved the list, the math textbook, it was towards the end of February. So then after that, we formed the math adoption committee to help review and finalize our recommendations. And so you can see we had a lot of representation from all the elementary schools, Walker, Buford, and the high school. All our math specialists were involved, myself, and then Patrick Johnson, the textbook coordinator. And we also had 2 principals and an assistant principal that were on the textbook committee. So at the beginning of March, copies of each curriculum were sent to every school for review. The teachers used a curriculum look-fors checklist created by the math leadership team to analyze each curriculum. In some schools, teachers actually taught the lessons from each curriculum to determine the pros and cons. Then the teachers observed lessons using the new curriculum. Some analyzed a task or a lesson from the new curriculum resources, but all were engaged in math conversations about the new curriculum options with their math specialist and their grade level team. And so this process took us about 4 to 6 weeks to complete. So in April, I sent out a survey for the teachers to select their curriculum preference, and these are the results. So for elementary K-4, out of about 135 teachers, we had 77%, so about 80% that preferred the investigations. And then 5 through 12, out of about 30 teachers, so this includes up to Algebra 2, it was 76% preferred Envision. So once the survey was completed, the Math Adoption Committee met to discuss the survey results and to make the final recommendations. After we finalized our decision, I created an ad for the local newspaper, and these materials were put on public display at the annex about mid-April. And so I have these materials on display for you all tonight if you would like to review them.
Beautifully displayed.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So based on a lot of teacher input and feedback, we're strongly recommending that investigations for elementary and Envision for secondary be purchased based on the following, and I'm just going to highlight a few of these. So each curriculum provides balanced math instruction for teachers to teach conceptual understanding that helps to build the procedural fluency where students can then actually apply what they have learned through engaging activities and tasks. This balanced approach aligns nicely with our CCS instructional framework model, which will help increase the quality of instruction in the classroom. The curriculum allows teachers to facilitate the learning process and implement equitable math experiences that help students to explore, communicate, and represent their ideas in different ways, as well as value the ideas and thinking of other learners. So based on research and after talking with authors of the curriculum, including just in our backyard, Dr. Robert Berry of UVA and Karen Karp of Johns Hopkins University, who did a lot of work with John Vanderwall and John Hattie, we know that the 4 main math components our students need to excel in for algebra success is number and number sense, rational numbers, graphing, and problem solving, as well as the connections among them. Each curriculum provides significant work in these areas that promote high expectations for all students to be able to reason, explain, and apply, and also connect the mathematical knowledge through a variety of rigorous learning tasks. So each curriculum includes a variety of assessments, both formative and summative assessments, to help teachers monitor student progress and growth. The assessment platform also mimics the TestNav 8 platform that we use for our SOLs. There are built-in supports for our EL students, our struggling learners, as well as our gifted learners. Each lesson provides the teacher with ways to differentiate based on the needs of his or her classroom. The curriculum materials also provide a coherent and carefully sequenced core of mathematics content for students that is aligned to the Virginia Standards of Learning. It also provides professional development resources to support teachers with the implementation. It also integrates with PowerSchool and Canvas, which we're very excited about. So I've been working with Mr. Faust and the Pearson Tech team to ensure a smooth integration with Canvas. All the content and the curriculum resources are there for the teachers and the students. This integration will also provide more access for parents as they can observe their student in the course to see their assignments, their grades, and also access online resources, so for extra help, whether it be at home or at school. Okay. Now for the fun part, the cost. So we are asking for $360,000 to purchase investigations at the elementary level and Envision at the secondary level to use for the next 7 years. So working with Patrick Johnson and the Division Finance Department, there are sufficient funds for this adoption. So in addition to the items listed, teachers will also receive professional development throughout the year. Included with the purchase of the curriculum, Pearson will send their best math specialist to work with our teachers in August to help with the implementation. Our math leadership team will also provide embedded professional development for all the teachers in their PLCs and on the division-wide PD days to ensure the fidelity of implementation. So in closing, we believe that instruction in mathematics is best accomplished within a comprehensive curriculum delivered by informed and engaged teachers. This assures that all children will have equal access to grade level standards and curriculum. The only way for a good curriculum to be used well is for teachers to be active participants in implementing it. Teachers will use the curriculum to maintain a clear, focused, and coherent agenda for math teaching. At the same time, they will observe and listen carefully to their students, try to understand how they are thinking, and then make teaching decisions based on these observations. This curriculum will be a valuable tool in the hands of teachers that will benefit every learner, every day, every one, next year and beyond.
Whoa.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Any
Yeah.
questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just curious about whether, like, the Envision program was selected overwhelmingly for secondary but not elementary. Are they very different from each other?
Yes. So investigations is only a K-5 curriculum, so they don't offer a secondary program. And the main difference with investigations is it really gets at that conceptual understanding, and it's all, the teacher really facilitates the learning. So they do everything kind of through math tasks, like low floor, high ceiling tasks, and the problem-based learning that was mentioned earlier. And so when we did the survey, I had a comment section, and it was overwhelmingly like teachers, because I think 2 cycles ago, the first original investigations was purchased, and teachers are actually still using those resources over what was purchased the last adoption, which was math expressions. So the teachers, and then what Kateri showed with the activities and the videos, that a lot of those lessons are actually from investigations.
Are there any, I mean, might there be any transition problems going from one system to another?
So currently, right now, teachers are kind of pulling resources from all over the place. And so a lot of teachers are familiar with investigations, but that somewhat 20% that is not, we will have that professional learning built in for those teachers, and it will be ongoing. And we know the first year, I mean, we will make revisions as we go and provide a feedback loop for teachers as well.
Thanks.
Other questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I was going to ask, I had looked at this last night, and when I saw Kateri up here, I was going to say, ask her for her opinion of this.
She is a very strong component
involved in that,
investigations,
yes. So, and you've probably covered some of this, so I apologize if these questions are redundant. And I think in K through 5, they're currently using investigations already, correct? Or parts of it?
No, parts of, from the, I think, 2 adoption cycles ago. So last adoption, it was math expressions, which was kind of the Go Math on one of the slides for the secondary. And so the teachers, probably after, or what I've heard, after the first couple of years, they just didn't like it. They didn't think it was appropriate, and it didn't give them what they needed to really meet the needs of all the students. So the teachers really feel strongly, and I actually went to several schools and met with grade levels personally and had a conversation about, you know, how do you feel about investigations over Envision, and it was overwhelmingly like they really wanted this curriculum because they think it's easy to differentiate. They like the way it's laid out, and it really also supports all the professional learning that we've been doing for the past couple of years. So I think last time I spoke to you all, I talked about, you know, number talks and math workshop model and different things that we have implemented. It really fits nicely with that curriculum.
And then if, and I think you said this, but I missed it, if the high school is using Envision for algebra, geometry, and algebra 2, they've realigned. I mean, what I saw online was that a lot of this was set up for core standards. So they have realigned that for...
for the Virginia SOLs, yes.
For the Virginia SOLs.
Yes, and I have the correlation, so there are correlation documents within the Envision books, and then I printed out the correlation for the investigations that's up here as well. So it all aligns to the standards of learning.
And then the Canvas and Power School component.
Very exciting.
So all of that will be loaded and available for all teachers.
So Pearson actually has, it's called Pearson Realize. They actually have their own LMS, their own learning management system. Well, we currently have been using Canvas for a while now, and so instead of having teachers go to another system and log in, and students as well, they can integrate into Canvas. So all the content and all the resources, including the assessments, will integrate with Canvas. So we're hoping for a nice, smooth integration.
That's awesome. I just wanted to
We're
make sure
really
it wasn't
excited about
something else that the teachers have to do, that it's preloaded,
Exactly.
it's there,
And we
it's
thought about that.
accessible for parents. And
Exactly, yes. So parents can then observe, what's called observe their child in the Canvas course, and then you can see right away, like, all the assessments, you can see their assignments, their grades, any comments, feedback to and from teachers, so it's all right there. And we actually, Jeff and I, we had a conference call, and we had Pearson actually show us, like, what does it, because, you know, you say it works, but does it really work? So they actually showed us and went through a third grade curriculum, and all the content was there. So we feel pretty good about that.
And then a last quick question about Desmos.
Yes.
So I know I've heard some feedback that that's pretty cool, but kids cannot use Desmos for the SOL, is that correct?
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So it's so our teachers at the high school and at Buford, our Algebra 1 and Geometry teachers, they actually are using Desmos now. I mean, it's free online, but it also comes with the purchase of Envision, and they'll have access to more resources because there's actually lessons and activities that go with. It's not just the calculator. There's more resources that actually go along with it when you purchase it through Pearson. So, and teachers, I mean, the animations and all the interactive things that you can do, I mean, it really helps build that kind of deeper understanding at the Algebra 2, and Geometry level.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go
I just would really always really appreciate the way Patrick Johnson and all of the specialists, you're the math coordinator, the way the coordinators work together and the process that you use to come up with the textbook recommendations. I just think it really provides a lot of support for us moving forward with your recommendations. So I appreciate that. I mean, I know that there's, like, in a huge organization, you're going to get disagreement, but to have such overwhelming support is a huge, and because of the process, it really does allow us to kind of feel comfortable moving forward. So thank you to you and to Mr. Johnson for that.
Well, thank you. Yes, and I can even share with you all some of the teacher comments. I mean, it was very overwhelmingly, this is from the teachers. I mean, this is what they wanted, and they really went through each curriculum with a fine-tooth comb and analyzed it and talked with their math specialists and their grade level teams. I met with several of them, and then with the textbook committee. I mean, we spent a lot of time really going through and making sure, is this what we want, and will this meet the needs of all our students?
Well, great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swift.
So I only have one question. So I noticed that there's IXL is no longer being used. I mean, I think, as a parent, it really concerns me that we had so many online opportunities for the kids to be doing at home, and my kids were doing them, and it really did help. And so I'm wondering, what is the online component that's going to be utilized for families?
Yes. So I know that's going to come up, and it has with some of the teachers when I told them that IXL will slowly go away. So Envision offers a few adaptive practice very similar to IXL. So they have what's called Math XL, which is, and then they also have what's called Newton, which is online adaptive practice. But the cool thing, or what I think is cool about Math XL and Newton, is when a student is struggling, it'll stop and it will actually provide the instruction. It will provide an instructional video for that student to go through and then continue back in the practice. Whereas IXL, it would say, sorry, you got this wrong, and then they had to read this, and scroll down and read all the feedback why they got it wrong, and I've watched kids, they just kind of click and go to the next one. So this is very similar to IXL, but it will be easier to access because it will now be built into Canvas.
I think I was a huge, I didn't really believe in that program, but I do think there's something about, I taught math, so I feel like I can say that there is something about repetition, especially about facts. Yes. In the earlier years, and the more you have that. So I hope that we're going to be sharing that with the parents, Because I know a lot of us were using that, and all of a sudden, there was nothing, so.
Yes, and they will have access to that. And we will continue to use Dreambox at K4, our online program for, to support Tier 1 instruction, but also for our intervention program.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Great job. The next item on the agenda is profile of a Virginia graduate update. Dr. King?
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Tonight I will share an update on the profile of a Virginia graduate. The Virginia Department of Education continues to define the profile of a Virginia graduate. The purpose of this presentation is to give the board an update on where VDOE is in finalizing the profile of a Virginia graduate. So I will share a bit of background as well as a description of what the profile of Virginia graduate is, along with the number of required credits for current high school students and the change that will be required for students entering high school this fall with their credits. The profile of Virginia graduate was developed in the anticipation of what students will need to be successful after high school. Based on current estimates, by 2025, about 500,000 new jobs will be created in Virginia in the areas of science, technology, as well as the healthcare fields. In order for our students to be eligible and competitive for these jobs, Virginia public school students need to have opportunities to learn about multiple subject areas and to use personal skills during their educational years. In order to prepare students for the future, there had to be a reconsideration to how Virginia children are educated so that they can be prepared for an economy and world that is complex and multifaceted, diverse, and rapidly changing. The profile of a Virginia graduate refers to the knowledge and competencies a student graduating from high school should have achieved in order to be prepared for job opportunities in tomorrow's economy and to be successful with work as well as their life. The profile is a framework for that. It revises graduation requirements beginning with freshmen entering high school this fall of 2018, and they are the class of 2022. Redefining our expectations of high school graduates that will incorporate the 5 C's: critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, collaboration, and citizenship. It also provides flexibility for students to experience multiple career pathways. Here is a visual of the profile of a Virginia graduate. This diagram represents what all students K through 12 will experience so they are life ready. As you can see, there are 4 domains, and those domains are deemed essential. It includes content knowledge, workplace skills, community engagement, and civic responsibility, along with career exploration and planning. The career planning component, it does allow for the profile of a Virginia graduate. It provides opportunities for all of the students. I mentioned the K-12, but it gives them what the employment options are and the pathways to get there. First, those opportunities are explored in elementary school as well as in middle school, and we in our division already do that. We do a great job with it. But this profile will give opportunities for our high school students to actually experience those work activities, what work experience they will need to develop work skills that they'll learn in high school to be able to employ after high school. So in order to meet the high school graduation requirements, students must earn standard and verified credits. That's not new. And right now, the rule is for a standard unit of credit, that's awarded when a student successfully completes a course. That's 140 instructional clock hours. A verified unit of credit is awarded for a course in which the student earns a standard unit, they pass the course, and they achieve a passing score on the corresponding end of course SOL tests. Currently, our students earn verified credits by achieving a passing score on SOL tests. However, the profile of a Virginia graduate includes a reduction of and additional flexibility for earning verified credits, as high school students will take fewer SOL tests. So currently, with the students in high school right now, the chart, that is the table that's displayed, those are the graduation requirements for obtaining or achieving a standard diploma. 22 standard units of credit along with 6 verified credits. Then currently, for our current high school students, the graduation requirements to obtain an advanced studies diploma is 26 standard units of credit along with 9 verified credits. However, beginning with students entering 9th grade this fall, the number of standard credits for a standard diploma and advanced studies diploma will remain the same. However, the number of required verified credits is reduced to 5 for both diplomas. 1 verified credit must be earned in English reading. The next one is English writing. Mathematics is next. The 4th one is science, and the 5th one is history or social science, and that's for both diplomas. So the new diagram will show still the same for the standard diploma, 22 standard units of credit, and however 5 being with the verified credits. That's the change. And then with our advanced studies diploma, still 26 standard units of credit. However, it's 5, goes from 9 verified credits reduced to 5. And once again, that is for our class of 22, our freshmen that will come in the fall. So in summary, the profile of a Virginia graduate will allow students to achieve and be prepared for future success in work and life. The profile, it supports students. It allows for us to maintain those high learning expectations and academic knowledge that we want students to have and acquire. It does reduce the number of SOLs, tests, that students must earn or pass to earn a diploma. It ensures that students acquire competencies other than academic. I spoke of the 5 C's, and it exposes our students to career planning and workplace skills, as well as developing the skills, attributes, and experiences of students that have been identified from higher ed, as well as our business leaders, of what is critical. It's essential for them to be successful with life after high school. As I stated in my opening, the Virginia Department of Education continues to define the profile of a Virginia graduate. The dust has not settled. But part of the defining process involves VDOE's compliance with federal accountability and requirements. That is with Every Student Succeeds Act from 2015. It replaced No Child Left Behind. VDOE has created, what we call it ESSA for short, has created an ESSA state plan that shows or tells how the Commonwealth will implement the requirements prescribed by ESSA. The final, if you will, the last submission was last week, and our State Department is waiting for next steps from the federal government to continue evolving exactly the direction that we will go with implementing the profile of a Virginia graduate. But the good news is we have questions, and the development not being complete, together the leadership team, Dr. Atkins' leadership team has come up with questions with Dr. Irizarry, and we continue to call VDOE. They're like, yes, hello Kendra, hello Eric. But it gives us an opportunity to engage with you, our board, our community, and share, because those questions are important. It takes all of us to realize, to problem solve and plan for our students, but it also gives us an opportunity to share with VDOE right now. They know that we're having this conversation tonight, and they ask that I take questions back, and I will.
Okay.
Open that.
What do they expect us to do? I mean, I don't mean to be overly concerned, but it is the end of the school year, and we will be implementing new requirements for our students coming in August. I think we should be very concerned. I read the report before. I read the things that they've been writing, but I don't feel like there is a roadmap to developing the curriculum they are asking us to provide.
They are working really hard, and I say that not just because of what I've read, but the conversations that I had, the presentations I've attended all year, along with other educators. Every conference, every professional state level meeting that we go to, there's an update of saying, nothing, it's not final, but here's what the work we've done up to this point. And one of the efforts with the plan has been to make sure that we involve a diverse range of stakeholders. And the work that we do, that causes the delivery, and the plan may not come in May, but it will come, and it's including all of the minds of people who care about our students and their future. So I am being protective of that part of them.
Incredibly positive.
But saying also, here are some questions that we have, and it's an opportunity to add to that. So right now, the questions, will there be an alignment to ESSA and the new graduation requirements? Because right now, it's not, there's just some confusion, and we want to make sure we know what it is and how to prepare for it, and it's being developed. Where will students be able to earn credit, verified credit, prior to high school, and will that align with ESSA requirements? How will VDOE define workplace skills that we are required to, or ensuring that our high school graduates at the high school level, because they have to do those activities, what are the parameters with that? Where can it take place? So those are the types, and we do have a whole list of others, but they fall under those broad categories.
Well, I think
so. At this time, I would like to open it up to the board to have a discussion about it, and invite Dr. Irizarry up here with me.
Well, I think if you don't mind, I think what I'm most concerned about is exactly what you said. What will be considered workforce skills? What is an appropriate job placement? How are we going to find job placements we have 1,200 students. I'm assuming this will be 11th and 12th grade, so that is about 600 students in an area of 10 square miles. Are there some answers that we already know to these questions? Or if there's not, that's okay.
Or is this going to be
I think
phased in?
Dr. Atkins wanted to chime in, and then we'll go around and get some questions.
Thank you, Dr. King. Great job. Bringing together some complex discussions and a complex initiative.
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the things that we can be very proud of is that the direction that we're headed with our strategic plan has laid a foundation for us. And the foundation that we've laid with that strategic plan actually incorporates all of the components of the profile of a Virginia graduate. So we have positioned ourselves very nicely to be able to move forward with this work. Some of the areas in which the Department of Education is still working on are those areas around that workplace skill development and where that might take place. I'm encouraged to know that the Department of Education is not having a narrow focus in looking at that, but the only place that you can develop those skills is to move outside of your school building into a business in the community. That's not the only place that you can develop those skills. You actually can develop those skills in your school, or it can be a virtual experience. So the department, I applaud them for thinking outside of the box and for giving us some leeway. One of the things that we've talked about a lot with the accreditation of our schools and with the development of our students is that we want more local control. Well, as the department gives us that flexibility, it allows us that local control to design models that fit our students. So it won't be as much about where the location is. It's more about what are the skill sets that we're going to be providing for our students. And for Charlottesville City, when you look at our strategic plan, I would say that the department actually used our strategic plan to develop this profile.
Did they?
I believe so. Eric.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, the Profile of Virginia Graduate, we know it's been coming down the pipe for quite some time. So a lot of the classes and the CTE pathways and our capstones that we've added over the past 2 years are in response to that. So we're prepared, we're ready, and when the state finalizes some things, we're going to be ready to implement. It's really looking at our strategic plan aligns very well, and what we did as a school with course requirements and CTE pathways is just to make sure those opportunities existed, and we were going to follow our strategic plan either way. So like Dr. Atkins says, we've got a great plan, and we'll just wait. When the dust does settle, we're going to be in great shape, and we're in a good position.
So we have identified businesses. I'm just being honest. Like, I think this is like,
Maybe we just have to have a discussion.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, have we identified places where our students can be placed?
When you think about our career and technical education program, that's an ongoing process to engage with the community, have apprenticeships, have work experiences, so that is already in place. We also have opportunities. We have partnered with our city government where we have job opportunities during the summer that can serve as internships.
That would be acceptable?
Absolutely. But the department, I believe, from our conversations this week with the department, they're trying to leave it as flexible as possible so that there is more local control. And so the work that our students do during the year, engage in during the summer, that is workplace experience. We also here at the high school, when our students go in the help desk and work, that's an experience for them. There are multiple virtual experiences that students can have in the workplace. So a combination of that will be the approach. Because the reality is, we don't have as many businesses in this community that could house each student. So that narrow thinking has really just broadened, which is great.
So how are we communicating this with parents? I have a ninth grader, or upcoming ninth grader.
One of what we need to do is make sure that before we start communicating what the guidelines are, that we know the guidelines and that we can answer questions that parents have, and we have all of the details as to where students can earn their verified credits, and then when can our students have an opportunity to comply with what ESSA requires of students. So those are decisions that are still being made. Those are the under-the-hood kinds of decisions that are still being made. Our approach is through our strategic plan that allows us to incorporate all of the elements. So in our program of study, we have the new requirements that our families have, so we have been able to provide that for families. And then we'll do a narrative out to our families to help them to understand, especially as those ninth graders come into school this fall, helping our ninth graders and our families to understand.
Oh, what does a narrative mean? Like as a PTO
written,
meeting or
a
a
written
letter?
explanation of all of this,
I have
yes.
a really bad headache and my back hurts terribly, so I'm sorry.
So let's hear from someone else. Sherry?
Yeah, I think great presentation. I think I heard you say this, that there would be maybe some additional flexibility regarding the verified credits, the ways of achieving those credits, and where I'm going with this is issues we've had with our ELL students and having those SOLs be a real barrier for them. And I'm wondering if there are any changes that would make that easier for them.
Nothing has been defined. However, the conversations for all of our students, our current high school students, some flexibility for them to earn verified credits, opportunities that were not present before.
So without the SOLs, you mean, other than?
With the SOL, because they're passing the courses. The challenge is passing the SOL test.
Yeah.
So they have the reduction.
They have the reduction,
But then even with that, there have been conversations, and we're looking for more direct instruction and approval to come very soon that has not come yet, that supports that flexibility.
And I'll add a little clarity to, thank you for getting us to that point, to talk about, there is a great deal of conversation going on right now in our communities about locally awarded verified credits. And that is that some guidance has come forth that says that school divisions can award an English and a mathematics locally verified credit to all students. It used to be that you could only award, a division could only award those verified credits, locally verified credits, to students who had disabilities or limited to our ELL students. The newest discussion and guidance has said that we will, for this year only, pending approval from the State Department, we will be able to offer locally verified credits to all students who have taken the test twice and scored at least once, 375. However, that has not been approved.
By the state.
By the State Department of Education, by all of the governing bodies that need to approve it. All of the signatures have not come, so therefore, and our conversation with the state has said, please keep in mind that in this region, we start school before Labor Day. Therefore, we graduate our students earlier than divisions who graduate after Labor Day. They're keenly aware of that. As of yesterday, today, that has not been approved. We anticipate that if they're going to approve it, that we will get that notification as quickly as it is approved so that we can apply it to our graduating class. But that is in discussion, and I think we all got very excited about it and the potential for being able to award those locally verified credits, but we are unable to do that until we get the approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions down?
Question about that, I'm sorry. Just wanted to, so would that affect diploma type if we're doing locally verified credits?
Locally verified credits, these will only be available for the standard diploma, not for the advanced studies diploma. And if it is approved for this year, where we can award up to 3 locally verified credits to our students this year, it will reduce to 1 next year. So the details of this is pretty complicated and a lot of moving parts. So what we want to do tonight is not hand out any of those details until it's approved, so that we won't confuse our families, our teachers, and our staff. If something is not approved, we won't have to pull it back in.
That's right. But it does speak on the heart of the board of VDOE, or really the state school board, of allowing flexibility and really thinking differently.
Yeah.
Right. Are there any other questions?
I think I only have one maybe suggestion. If you are having conversations, I think the question would be how many hours will, be acceptable in terms of getting a credit for job placement, or, what I mean? And I think that should be something that's attainable for students that are working, are in programs after school, being really honest about that commitment. And anyway, so.
You know how to ask the questions that everyone's asking, and that hasn't been decided.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a real concern for families, because they will also be driving their children.
Again,
there,
I think that's going to have some local control also. And keep in mind that it may not be a place outside of our building. There are multiple opportunities that we can offer our students in the building, along with the virtual opportunities.
Okay. Other questions on this? Is very important. I mean, this is, essentially what we're going to be about, the graduation. So any other question on this? Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I know it's been a long evening, but we still got a few more things to go. Dr. King, our schedule?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Hopefully, the school board members have had an opportunity to review the draft for the proposed 2018-19 school board meeting, the schedule. And with the schedule, the points of reference that I would like for you to bring to your attention right now deals with the date of January 10th. It's scheduled for the second Thursday due to winter break. April 11th is scheduled for the second Thursday. This is our spring break period. Also, there's a half day of professional development at the end with March, right around spring break, and then there is also the National School Board Association Conference that will occur. So that's why the suggestion is April the 11th. And lastly, June 13th falls on the second Thursday due to graduation being scheduled for June 6th. And Mr. Chair, I would just like to open it up for discussion.
I'd like to move to approve the schedule.
So, I think this could...
We don't need another month to consider that, I don't think.
If everyone's cool with it at this point, we can... Okay, so we're going to...
Thank you for thinking about all of these issues.
So I think that I heard a motion to approve the schedule for 2018-2019. It's been moved and properly second. Any changes? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Next item is the update on the track. I passed it today. It's a lot of dirt moving out there.
There's a building.
Yes, that's
our
outside.
It's very exciting.
Yes, Chairman Wade, members of the board, Dr. Atkins, we're very excited to give you an update on this project and how it's moving forward. And we have Tim Breitenbach here with us. He is leading the project effort from our facilities development team. We're so grateful he is here tonight with us. And we also have Rodney Redd if you have any other questions about programming and so forth. But we're going to turn things over to Tim. Thank you.
All right. So most of you know me. Kim just introduced me. My current project is the track. And in summary, it's going well and it's on schedule to finish at the end of August.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That's a great presentation.
I like that.
I will give you a quick overview of what we're doing now and what we're about to do. The graphic I showed that's on your screen shows the layout of the south end of the track. You can see that we have a restroom appended to the existing storage building. And if you've driven by there, you'll see that the walls went up today. And if you drive by there next week, you'll see the brick veneer going onto the walls. The building portion is going to go very quickly. It should be done later this month. The other things that we're doing this week, we're still stripping away the asphalt from the old track. We are putting in the stormwater structures under the ground, and the 2 sets of stairs have been poured and are in place. What we will be doing throughout the month of May, and there's my panoramic view. They make sophisticated programs for stitching together photographs, but I don't have that. So I just did a jigsaw with 3 pictures, but it's a current overview of what you would see if you looked out there now. As I said, you can see the track hoe on the right is stripping the track. He's made more progress than that in the day since. The bottom picture is the gentleman who were pouring the slab a couple of days ago for the restroom building. And as I mentioned, the walls are up at this point. The other things that we will be doing in May are the infrastructure that goes under the ground. The track has a fairly complex drainage system. There's an irrigation system that's going in, and there's a system of electrical conduits. All that is subgrade and has to be done before we actually begin any surface work on the track. So in June, you'll see that happening. By the end of July, you should see a track, a big red 8-lane track. And by the end of August, it will be ready to use. The infield, the grass infield, is planted. It's going to take time for that to fill in. Rodney can elaborate on that if he cares to, but he knows that it'll take time. They do not plan to use that in the fall. They'll do practice at the stadium, I assume. But that's what I'll have to present. I will continue to furnish updates to Kim Powell. I keep an extensive picture set. And if you want an update as we get closer, if you're meeting during the summer, I'd be glad to come back and do that. But everything is fine. It's on track.
Looking good.
The track is on track.
Good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very excited.
Any questions?
Do you have
Are
a
we
question?
scheduling
They
track
send that
meets
to him?
for next year?
That question I sent you
Are we
guys?
scheduling track meets for next year?
I'll send it to him. Did you send that to him?
So we're going to have home meets though next year, right?
Okay,
Well,
I'll ask him. Okay.
Here's the way track meets work. If everything goes like it should, we will probably get on a rotation where when track meets are scheduled, especially at the district level, like for small local meets, they will be able, it will come up kind of like a lottery system. So the possibility of us hosting a small track meet is high, very high, and we will actually push for that. Obviously, still before we're able to host any large-scale regional or state-type events, we will need the lighting before that occurs because those meets often run into the night, as even some of our more local type stuff as well. So, yes, we're very excited, and in particular, the area of focus today, the restroom building. The thing that I'm most excited about is that is going to continue to help our campus safer for students. From a supervision standpoint, when we have practice and activities down there right now, students have to go in and out of the building, and sometimes doors are propped open and left open, and we all know that is not ideal. So the fact that we'll able to have serviceable restrooms down there, places to change and things of that nature, that they still will be able to be in the eye of either their physical education instructors or their coaches, I think that is going to be a huge benefit to our campus and our community. So very excited about that.
One thing we haven't discussed is, will you want a grand opening?
We're kind of toying around the idea of planning something for that right now.
Okay.
So,
all right.
We need to review signage for the Curtis Elder track.
Yep.
So
Yes, sir.
we will do that.
Okay. Yes,
Mr.
Dr.
Chair,
Atkins.
I just want to say thank you. This has been a dream for quite a long time. It's so good to see it happening. I also look forward to having those lights on the field. I look at our baseball team out playing tonight, and those beautiful lights that are shining so that they can continue to play. So I look forward to when we put the lights on the field so that we have no restrictions as to when and how we hold our meets. The Curtis Elder track is going to be an area of pride for us, and we have Mrs. Elder sitting in the audience. So thank you for being here, and we look forward to the day that we do the ribbon cutting on the new track. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one question. I don't know if it was sent to you beforehand. One of the coaches came up to me and said that they were worried about the placement of the long jump, that sometimes in competitions, students actually take longer, runways. I'm just, actually it was a lot of other information, so I think the bottom line is there opportunity to meet with like Mr. Green and everybody? I know you're on the track, so I guess you guys are all talking with each other, and those concerns would be addressed?
Yes. Mr. Green and I have spoke about the exact thing you talk about, and I did bring it to the construction team's attention. Anytime you build a facility, there's always the ideal situation and the super ideal situation, but then more or less the realistic ideal situation.
Right.
What he's talking about is something that, yes, it could make it a little better if we were able to find that room to have an additional runway side by side, but it could. But we are also locked in by a bank on one side and a creek on the other. So that could be challenging, and we looked at it and didn't think it was going to be feasible. I do think it'll be a small inconvenience, though. It won't stop the programming. It may save. If we were able to do what he was talking about, it could save 10 or 15 minutes per large meet, but it's not going to affect the programming or what we're able to accomplish on the track.
Great. I just wanted to make sure
Yes.
you had brought it to my attention and said that there's. So thank you. I apprete that.
Thank
I like
you.
that you're really meeting with the,
Thank you.
your integral part. Thank
It's
you.
exciting to see the changes. Okay. Next item on the agenda is comments from members of the community. Anyone else would like to, from the public, would like to speak? If not, it's time for board comments. Any other board comments? Okay, James?
James get to go first.
He's sick of me. I'm sick of me.
I'm a senator now. I just want to briefly thank Dr. Atkins and the central office staff for organizing the new members orientation, taking time out of your schedules to do that, and also Leslie for making my transition to the board an easy one. There's lots of things to take in, but you made it very easy and the transition was smooth, so thank you for that.
I know.
Any other comments this end?
I forgot to report back about class. I know Juan and I were there, and one of the things I think staff had brought up is that we have a waiting list at some of the schools and more capacity at other schools. So if it was ever possible to bus students to another, that's what I thought. I said it would probably be I just want to bring it up that was.
We bus people to Boys and Girls Club all the time.
Yeah, but that's their bus.
But it's.
No.
Use ours.
We drop them off like it's their house, right? Because they're coming to Buford. But I guess the elementary schools are all using the buses at the same time.
Right.
So logistically, it'd be hard to move buses from
Yeah.
Yeah, to another. So I just wanted to bring that up as something. And June 1st is the deadline for applying for the summer program. So if you get that in the mail, get it back right away.
I just wanted to mention that Burt Buford Orchestra did really well in Williamsburg. They won the grand championship there. And also the Charlottesville High School Orchestra won in Orlando. And I know personally why. I mean, I know that personally. So I just want to wish them congratulations and thank you to the whole arts department and to their parents who are great supporters of their children and their fine arts education. And also I went to the Venable Spring Fling, which is actually a spring fair according to Ryan, but whatever. They had a band. So that is really hard. I have never been to a spring fling with band, so I feel like that was a privilege, and the PTO did an amazing job organizing that. But it just really seems to me, shows me how the community is so important to what we do in the schools every day, because having a strong PTO really creates a strong foundation for all the students, along with the teachers and staffs in the building. So thank you. That's all.
Okay. Any other? Frank?
Just quickly wanted to extend my gratitude as well for having the opportunity to attend NSBA conference in San Antonio. So thank you to everyone for that. I attended several great sessions. One, an educational equity, which was on assuring success for all. I also attended ensuring the success of male students of color across educational sectors, which was sponsored by CUBE. A session on diversity and inclusion, a competitive edge for recruiting and retaining teachers, creating equity of opportunity, which dealt with recruitment, support, and success for underrepresented students in AP and IB programs, and also a session on trauma-informed systems in school and how to support Black students through mental health. So there was a lot of great information. On April 10th, Amy and I both attended the SEAC meeting, Special Ed Advisory Committee. Misty Graves came to talk about the CAIP, the Community Attention Youth Internship Program, and I believe all applications were beyond the deadline for that, but it was nice to have her present to the SEAC group. I am also on the Housing Advisory Committee and have spent a lot of time on that, and am learning a lot about housing in our community, which is very, very important. We are also, from that, they decided they needed more subcommittees, so I'm on a subcommittee of that committee, and have been attending and working with the allocation subcommittee group, which is working to revamp and update the application forms that are used for the Charlottesville Affordable Housing Fund. So it's a lot, and like I said, I spent a lot of time in those meetings. Also attended City Schoolyard Gardens Trowel Recognition, Golden Trowel Recognition at Jackson Via, and then following that, I believe Juan and I don't remember who else was there, attended the African American Teaching Fellows celebration. It was the Fellows reception. I want to thank Principal Eric Johnson for the invitation. I thoroughly enjoyed attending that. And then I visited Venable, which I believe was my last campus to get to see. So thank you to all the principals and staff that provided tours throughout the last couple months for me. My highlight for the month was being able to spend a few hours with the preschool steering committee, and I helped them complete their interviews with parents and some of the kids who are prospective families that hope to be attending our 3-year-old program, and that was just so much fun. I spent about 4 hours at Carver with them, and just the excitement in the parents and the kids too at potentially being part of our program was really rewarding. So I was grateful to be able to do that. And lastly, I just wanted to provide a couple of reminders. Again, speaking about the African American Teaching Fellows, they're offering a summer institute on Black Teacher Leadership Summit. It's open to all African American teachers in the city. It will be at UVA on June 18th and 19th. The fee is $125 for 1.5 day of workshops, and they'll have a facilitator from the Black Teacher Project in New York City there. And then I believe the director of programs for AATF also informed me that they have 3 fellows who will be licensed to become full-time teachers for the school year 2019 through 2020. So we've got some more fellows coming up that hopefully we can offer some job positions to. And then also hoping that all the families noticed and received the invitation to participate in the AP and dual enrollment survey that was sent out, that the CHSPTO sent links to, and I believe it was in the newsletter. And then a reminder that June 11th at the Performing Arts Center, I don't know if this is what you were referencing, but Brian Nosak will be offering the community-wide implicit bias workshop. So that's something different. But I believe he's providing 4 different sessions free to the community. That's the community-wide one. And then there is one for our employees as well that I believe is scheduled for August sometime. Is that correct?
The one for our employees is scheduled for August. Charlene Green is coming to us on June 11th or 12th.
Okay.
I can't remember which one that is, but she'll be doing a session with us and then followed by him in August.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had a couple of quick comments. One is that we're happy to have James. As we noted, he's going to be in this position until November, and then it's going to be a regular election, and anyone interested in that, the deadline to get on the ballot is mid-August, August 17th, and contact the local registrar if you're to get all the details and information on that. And I just want to thank Frey for her insight. Has been invaluable, and I really thank you for your time. I mean, here it is 3.5 hours into a meeting, and and I know you're on countdown. 12 days, probably 11.5 now after the day.
It's
but
an interminable meeting.
Yeah. But thank you. Did you want to have any final comments?
It's just been such an honor to serve with you all, and it really has impacted my decision to pursue a career in public service. That's really what I want to go into, and really seeing it firsthand has been really inspiring. Tiring at times, but inspiring. Yeah, I've really valued working with all of you guys, and everything you have to say and all of the questions you ask really just, help me to question things better and help me think critically. So I've really enjoyed this. If they don't let me graduate, maybe I'll try another year on it.
No, you're good.
So much. It's been an honor.
Yes.
As you have, seen you.
Yes, but you and Nadia are both, I know, pursuing higher education. Nadia is going to James Madison University, and so we're so excited for both of you all, and we'll always be here for a resource for you guys if you need it.
There's a chair right there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to encourage your younger classmates to apply.
That's what we're working on for the
All
next
right.
one.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm after.
The next.
We'll try. Talk about implicit bias.
Yeah. The next item on the agenda is superintendent comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to recognize Ms. Diane McNeil from the NAACP and Ms. Sylvia Elder in the audience. And on March the 12th, I had the privilege of presenting to the NAACP. It was wonderful. It was very nice to be there with the members of the organization and to provide for them an overview of our academic highlights and to talk about those areas that impact in a positive way and a negative way our African American students in our school division. We talked about the academic achievements. We talked about our school climate. We talked about our pain points with both of those areas, the academic achievement and school climate. I invited members of the NAACP to please visit our schools, and specifically to visit because there were a number of questions about any of our alternative programs. And I invited them to visit Lugo McGinnis Academy. And very recently, I understand a team visited and spent a great deal of time there with Stephanie Carter. So thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for having me to present, and I look forward to engaging with you in the future. Also, had the privilege of attending a systems approach to the opioid crisis on April the 13th. It was a great analysis of our community and the broader communities and where percentage-wise we are with the crisis. We had Denise Bond from the Department of Health, the director of the Department of Health, the Thomas Jefferson Health District, that presented. It was a very informative presentation. The state, the Commonwealth, has received $3 million to actually impact this crisis. So the information that was provided was very helpful, and I look forward to our next meeting to continue to talk about, as a school system, what role is it that we should play in the education of our young people and the support of our young people. Congratulations to Diana Poe. Diana is our intervention specialist and the coordinator of our Charlottesville High School Walk program. She was recently recognized by Ready Kids, and she received the 2018 Ready Kids Community Award for being a strong child advocate. If anyone has ever met Diana Poe, you know that she is a child advocate. And we appreciate having her on board with us, and Jim Henderson and I had the pleasure of attending the breakfast with her to help honor her. Congratulations. We also, very recently, April 18th, celebrated the accomplishments of our students in our world language program, our Spanish program, which starts in first grade, with our El Espectaculo Spanish celebration. Students from first grade through fifth grade were on stage, and we had the pleasure of having 2 fifth grade students who were narrators of the program, and they narrated in Spanish. And one would narrate in Spanish, the other would interpret, and they switched those roles back and forth. Eliza Vasgar and Cly Stanford. Cly is one of our students, and he has been in our school system for 1 year. And the parents, when we spoke with the parents, they said programs like this is why they wanted to come to Charlottesville. Our students were absolutely amazing on stage, and their acquisition of the language is very impressive. So thank you to the parents who came out, and thank you to all of our teachers and administrators who have supported the program. We can see that it really does make a difference with our students. I will echo Ms. McKeever. Congratulations to our orchestra team. Laura Thomas traveled to Orlando, Florida with the orchestra with World Strides, and if you look at any of the publications from World Strides, our director, Laura Thomas, is featured on the front of those publications now. She's done a great job, and those publications go all around the country, and potentially, Laura might tell me they go around the world, and I would not doubt that. So you can see that our orchestra actually brought home almost all of the awards. First place in the Gold Division 2A, first place Gold Division 3A, Outstanding Orchestra, 2 Adjudicators Awards, and Instrumental Sweepstakes Award. So congratulations. So as our students were, I believe they were returning from the orchestra trip, one of the, let's see, who was he? He was one of the agents at the airport. Happened to notice that the students were returning from a trip. He and Laura got into a conversation, and he wanted our students to do an impromptu concert. And of course, our students, the ones who had their instruments with them, pulled them out there at the airport, and there was entertainment for everyone. So, thank you. Thank you to that airport attendant.
To first class.
They should have. They actually got.
Got a voucher.
They did. They got a $100 voucher, each student. They were awarded a $100 voucher.
We're happy to use it for
So,
next year's trip.
You go to Florida, you get all of the awards, you bring those home, and then when you return home, you get $100 as a voucher in the airport. So that's pretty nice. That was from, I should go ahead and say it, Southwest. And last night, we had the pleasure of being at Beaufort for orchestra concert, and last night was extra special because it was Mr. Brubaker's final concert. And we had members of the orchestra. We had Bernice and Jean Edwards, who were just in their strollers when I first came into the school division, and now they're at Beaufort in the orchestra. They were there with their family, their father, and probably many members of the community to watch them. Mr. Brubaker did an exceptional job. It was great to see him on stage. And we had members of the community who have not entered our school system but want to get an early start. They were there to hear the concert and to celebrate with everyone on stage. So it was a fun evening for everyone. So thank you to Mr. Brubaker for all of his work. I'd also like to, as I have been going from school to school with the superintendent's tea, after working with HR and talking about teacher licensure and the hiring process that we're going through right now, I thought what better place to look for talent than our own school division. So each time I meet with a group of staff, teachers in our schools for the superintendent's tea, and I believe I've been to either 3 or 4 schools now, I'm asking them to think about adding an endorsement to their teacher license. And we talk about the areas in which we have need, specifically in math and in special education, literacy, any of the sciences. And I have committed to our teachers that if they'd like to consider getting an added-on endorsement in those areas in which we have need, we would provide support for them to get those endorsements. So very recently, I was at Greenbrier, and I was talking about the added endorsements, and there was a teacher sitting in the library, and she was smiling broadly. And so I said, "You're smiling. I would love to have you get an endorsement in math." She said, "Good, because I was a math specialist before coming here to Charlottesville." So we talked about her taking the praxis. She said, "Oh, I think I can do that." So there is talent in our school division. We will support her in getting an Algebra 1, and she did not flinch when I said, "You will need to take the Algebra 1 praxis," and she said, "Okay." So we have great talent in our school division. I would encourage all of our teachers, think about getting an additional endorsement, and especially in the math, science, special education, and language area, or sign language area, hearing impaired area. We would certainly support you in that work. Teacher Appreciation Week starts Sunday. I want to say thank you to our amazing teachers for all of the work that they do. And here's a special poem for our teachers. Our children all need great teachers like you. You once had a choice, and you chose to teach. And every day, it's our children that you reach. You make the difference in the life of each child, those that are quiet and those that are wild. It's the way that you teach. You do it so well. They look up to you, and they think you are swell. You teach from your heart, that's plain to see. They think you're divine, and we all agree. Please never forget and remember it's true. Our children need you, great teachers like you. We appreciate you. We value your time. And if you should forget, please reread this rhyme. Thank you to our teachers. Thank you for the work that you do. And thank you for caring so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that says it all there. Dr. King, the wrap-up. So I know we wanted to put down the John Gaines request for the name the street, the entrance. Yeah, she may have been. Was there anything else? That's what I had down.
I think
Okay.
we wanted to find out also the Quest identified kids who are identified after second grade, yeah. They give us a report. They do give us a report, so I can bring it back.
And then the crosswalk at Walker, I don't know if there's any report
So
to be done on that, but
Just let us know. So is there a
I don't know how
request?
to say it.
You can think about it and let
me
us
think
know,
about it,
okay? So the next item is this kind of upcoming meeting. So on June 1st and 2nd, we have a retreat, annual school board retreat. June 7th is graduation. And June 14th is our regular school board meeting, which we're moving because of graduation. Did I get it right?
You did, Mr. Chair. I just want to add graduation. We will be sending out a communication to our families and our community about graduation. This year, the JPJ has put some pretty significant restrictions on what individuals can bring into JPJ. So please read those guidelines. If you carry a purse, you will not be able to bring that into JPJ. Only if the purse or the bag that you have is see-through can you bring it in. It must be clear. It is a very small item that the JPJ will allow you to bring in to JPJ. You have it? Yes.
That's from the Piedmont graduation. It's probably the same thing, but I just wanted to give you, yeah.
Thank you. Bags, purses that do not meet the size requirement, and we will post this on our website so families can clearly see this, read it, and adhere to it. Please make sure that you arrive early so that if you do have items that cannot be taken in, that you have time to be processed with all of that. JPJ is asking that all guests please arrive at least 45 minutes prior to the ceremony starting. Our graduation ceremony starts at 7:00 p.m., so we would ask that our guests arrive by 6:15 or earlier if you'd like. Please adhere to all of the parking information and do not bring metal. Wear as little metal as possible because you will be going through security. Again, we will post this on our website and send out additional communications so that everyone can have a great experience during graduation. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no objections, we stand adjourned.